My wife made negative comments about our daughters posing for her school photos. Am I the asshole for getting angry at my wife over this? I, 60, have been married to my wife, 51, for around 15 years. We also have a beautiful daughter named Hayoung, 17, who is in her junior year of high school. Yesterday after school, Hayoung, pronounced Hayoung, came up to me and my wife and showed me her school pictures, both her individual photo and her group grade photo. They were taken all the way back in February, but they had just arrived today. I complimented Hayoung and told her how beautiful she looked in the photos, before telling her how proud I was to see her grow up throughout the ages, before showing my wife the pictures of our daughter. It did not go the way I hoped it would go. Instead of looking at it for a bit before saying something, my wife immediately pointed out to Hayoung that she was looking too downward at the camera and that her eyes looked strained/forced. I was a bit taken aback at first, but I decided to just keep listening. My wife then said to my daughter that she would have to have rehearsals for school pictures with her for next year, because in my wife's words, Hayoung still doesn't understand how to properly pose, smile and look beautiful for a school picture. I was a bit irritated, but I let it slide. What set me off though, was my wife then said, Hayoung's picture is a fail. Honestly, Melissa looks the prettiest out of everyone. Hayoung got quiet and said, I'm gonna be honest, my picture this year is really bad compared to sophomore year. I got mad that evening. We had a huge argument in the living room. I told my wife that she was being cruel to our daughter and since school pictures were over, there was no point being so picky over it. My wife retaliated, saying that, even Hayoung says that she doesn't like how she looks in her school picture. I was just being honest, I'm only trying to help her. She then went into her room and started crying, saying that I don't understand her. I will admit, I raised my voice while we were having that argument and I'm seriously sitting here questioning myself about whether I was an asshole or not. After our argument, I knocked on Hayoung's door and I could tell by her expression that she had listened to every piece of the argument. I feel bad because I may have overreacted to something as simple as school pictures. Plus, I ruined my daughter's evening and my wife's too, and I also made my wife cry. TLDR, I shouted at my wife after she made some comments about my daughter's school photos and I'm wondering if I'm the age. Edit 1. This is not the first time my wife has said something like this. This is why I feel even more terrible because I let my daughter suffer like this. I did give my wife a word or two, but I always told Hayoung that this was just the way she spoke and that she really did love her. I really want to cry right now, especially overhearing Hayoung crying herself to sleep last night. She always kept a brave face around me and my wife, but it just breaks me even more, now knowing she feels like she can't talk to me either. I failed her. Hayoung always asked me every morning if she looked beautiful. She would always ask at meal times if she was eating too much. I'm so afraid of the damage we both put her through for so long. I'm so scared she's going to develop an eating disorder and I'm going to make sure to set things straight with my wife and take care of my daughter better. She is always my first priority. Edit 2. I was taken off guard even though my wife has made responses like this in the past, because though it's not the first time, I had a little bit of hope left that she wouldn't point out Hayoung's appearance that outright in her school photo. Relevant comments. Commenter, I am guessing based on the fake name that your wife is Korean. I know beauty standards there are super high and she could be projecting her own insecurities and maybe even comments that she got when she was young. Of course this is not okay, but it could be worth sitting down with her and having a talk. OP, you're right, me and my wife are both Korean. The beauty standards there are super tough, so I'm probably going to talk to my wife privately to understand why she said that and check up on Hayoung a bit before talking with my wife. I know she's super shaken up, so the best I can do is be the best father I can. To another commenter. I've lived in the States longer than in Korea now. Commenter, do Korean women tend to have very high beauty maintenance standards? And no, you are not in the wrong. Teenage girls are already extremely sensitive about their looks, so your compliment was kind and nurturing. OP, I cannot speak on the behalf of everyone. I know that the beauty standards are extremely tough there. I've heard people commenting about the fatness, skinniness of people's bodies. I've sometimes heard conversations about K-pop idols' bodies and faces, makeup, surgery, etc. Later that night in comments, hello everyone, OP here. Tonight, since my wife is working a night shift today, I decided I'm going to stay together with Hayoung for a daddy-daughter date. I know it doesn't matter whether we go out or not, all that matters is that I'm with her. I'm planning on making her some of her favorite foods and spending quality time as an apology for not being there when I should have been. She loves japchae, galbi and cream bunjopang. I asked Hayoung beforehand whether she wanted to stay at home or go out and she wanted to stay home and she chose to go with the first option. I'll let you know how it goes. Update post, July 16, 2024, about 5 weeks later. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for their generous comments and advice. As promised, here is the update. After my wife left for work, I decided to check up on my daughter. She was in her room doing homework and I could tell by the forced expression that she was not okay. As she talked, everything began to make sense. My daughter overheard her mother shaming her in front of the other church moms. She heard them boasting about their kids and her mother would use condescending modesty, e.g., she's gained weight and she doesn't even study hard. She was tired of trying to surpass my wife's expectations. She couldn't stand it when my wife was in the house. She asked me, why am I her diamond? She cuts me to make me shine. How more of this should I take? I prepared all the foods I promised to make and she was hesitant but ate a lot more than when my wife was around. She wanted to further talk with me. I then asked if she wanted me to tell my wife how she felt. Hyung said, it was the only way to get her to listen, before telling me she wants me to get a divorce. I asked her if she was absolutely sure, as it was something very serious. She said she was fine with it. I'm just devastated it has reached this point. When Haeyoung was at school, I had a conversation with my wife. I brought up Haeyoung's concerns, along with mine. I asked my wife what made her put down my daughter on the day of the school picture incident. She made excuses such as having bad days, hence she'd accidentally release her anger and other emotions by yelling, the silent treatment, etc. I questioned further if there was anything in the past that was bothering her, which she replied snarkily, nothing is bothering me. I raised her into a better person. If you have problems with how I'm raising her, she's all yours. I don't want to argue anymore, especially with a sensitive, lazy person like you. We had a lot of arguments in the past on raising Haeyoung. This phrase was used in all of our arguments to shut me up. As Haeyoung was consistently used as an emotional punching bag and a trophy for my wife, this was the last straw. I told my wife, we were done, then told her to pack up and leave. I thanked her for letting me realize my self-worth. After some time had passed, she had driven to her parents' house and was staying there for a bit. When Haeyoung came back, she noticed her mom's room was a lot better than it was and knew what had happened. I hugged Haeyoung and told her I was sorry for the mess I had caused, before reassuring her that nothing was her fault. I told her my ex-wife would come back a few more times to collect the rest of her stuff, but our relationship was over. This event shook me up a lot, but I know things will get better. I'm trying to make Haeyoung always feel loved. Haeyoung, you are my universe and that will never change. A stranger on the internet messaged me to let me know that my boyfriend and I are all over a couples swapping site. Throwaway, because all of my friends know my main goal. And I'm sorry if the grammar in this post is all over the place, it's late here and I'm kind of freaking out. For the sake of privacy I'm going to call my BF Ryan, and the guy who messaged me Craig. Background: been with Ryan for 6 months, the relationship is fun and great. Now let's just get straight to it. I was browsing social media before bed when Facebook alerted me that a non-friend was requesting to send me a message. Curious, I opened it and was greeted with a shock. He stopped replying after my second question. Craig. So, heard that you two are into couple swapping. Etc. LOL me. What? Craig, y'all are all over a site for that. Not trying to be a creep at all or odd about it. This would be our first time doing anything like that. Me, can you send me screenshots of that stuff? Sorry if I sound rude, I don't think you're creepy, it's just that as far as I know my partner and I aren't on any sites for swapping or anything else sexual. Ryan isn't picking up his phone. It's late. I think that someone might have taken our images and put them on some sort of sexual meetup website, and I have no clue what the etc. entailed. And since we were contacted by a man in his 30s, the site must say that we're older than the 18-19-year-old kids we are. I'm also scared because Craig's profile says that he is from the same city that Ryan and I are from, so whatever site we're on has our relative location on it. Maybe Ryan has something to do with it. I want to know how I should proceed from here. Please help. A stranger approached me for a couples swap and alerted me to the fact that my BF and I are all over a swinger site. I don't know how to proceed. Update 1. So after posting this last night I was exhausted and fell asleep. Craig messaged me again a half hour ago and then stopped responding. I'm hoping for screenshots soon. Craig. Sorry I was asleep. I'll try to find that stuff. My wife and I deleted our profile. Me. Yeah, sorry about this mess. IDK how this could happen unless there were bots or my BF was trying to cheat on me. Craig. No, he wasn't trying to cheat. The profiles had both of you. At this point, I'm afraid it's Ryan. I don't want it to be. He won't answer my text. Update 2. Thank you to everyone who has responded. Something I didn't make clear in the original post is that the first message from Craig was from early January. I hadn't seen it until last night because my Facebook settings have it so I only get alerted to messages from people who aren't my friends, nor have I been given permission to talk to me when I'm in the app or on the website. Last night was the first time I had gone on Facebook in about a month. At this point I'm just waiting to hear back from Ryan still. I'm leaning towards Craig as just some creep, but Ryan's silence is becoming increasingly worrying. I still am going to check swinger sites to make sure none of my pictures are being used. I will update again when this is all figured out. Relevant comments. Comment 1. As a couple that regularly participate in swinging sites, this kind of shit is incredibly common. A guy derives pleasure from sexual chat and fantasizes about either participating in threesomes or engaging in partner swapping. So he'll create a profile without his SO's knowledge and pretend to be swingers so he can chat with real swingers. It's incredibly frustrating as real swingers, and incredibly common. They are pretty easy to figure out after some experience also. The way it normally happens is we start chatting with a couple. After a couple days, we realize that we have only communicated with the male half. We ask for the two women to voice verify via phone or Skype so we know both couples are who they say they are. Dude ghosts or deflects back to sex talk. Reverse image search often leads to their FB profiles. Or searching their email, or their names and location. Regardless, it's easy enough to find them since most guys that do this aren't exactly careful. At that point, a decision is made. Either we're pissed off enough at the dude that we'll contact his SO over FB and rat him out, or we just make a note and move on. We actually busted my cousin's best friend's fiancé doing this. Tracked down the asshole's FB profile, found he was a mutual friend with our cousin, and then found he was engaged to cousin's best friend. As we suspected, she didn't know he was doing this. So as a couple who have been on the other end of this, we're leaning towards your BF being an asshole rather than this being a scam. OP. How should I approach him about this? I don't have any evidence besides the messages from Craig. Comment 2. It is difficult. He has the trusty fallback that real swingers keep in our pocket if anyone were to stumble across our profile on a site. Oh shit, someone stole our pics and made a fake profile. And yeah, it never happens. If people steal pics, it's not vanilla pics from Facebook. Unless you two are Ken and Barbie with very racy pictures on FB, your pics weren't stolen. So you need cooperation from Craig. You need to know which site he found you on. Create a fake profile on that site and find other profiles in your area. Chances are you will stumble across the suspected account. Also browse the MW4MW ads on Craigslist and see if any of the pics or descriptions match you guys. But really, without Craig's help, there's nothing you can do besides snooping on internet history on all PCs and phones. Hopefully Craig will cooperate. Swingers are big on honesty and consent. It's what differentiates us from cheaters. So hopefully he'll give you the details out of a sense of morality. There is always the chance that this is an innocent mistake. Maybe he tracked down the wrong person by mistake. But honestly, we've lived this exact scenario 3 times in the past year alone. It's very, very common for men to catfish couples. When we were new in the lifestyle and didn't know any better, we even had a few "my wife can't make it tonight. Do you mind if it's just the 3 of us?" attempts. OP. Yeah, none of my pictures on Facebook even show my body in any capacity. Only my face. Comment 3. Without evidence, all you can do is tell your BF what happened and gauge his response. Without assistance from Craig, you have nothing to go on. I just hope your BF doesn't have nudes of you, because we've been sent countless nudes of wives and girlfriends by catfishing husbands, boyfriends. I really hope for your sake that I'm wrong and this is just a case of mistaken identity. Maybe we're just sour because it's happened to us so many times. I really hope so for your sake. But the circumstances sound just a bit too familiar. Final update. Thank you so much again. All of y'all have made this day easier. Also, I want to mention that I hope I never came across as shaming the swinging community. All of y'all from that community were so kind and helpful, and my problem with all of this wasn't that the concept of swinging was scary, just the fact that my information and photos were being used without my knowledge. So let's get to it. Ryan ended up texting me that he wanted to see me. I got a bad vibe, so I asked him to call me instead. You all were right. It was him. Apparently the fantasy of swinging was a special kink for him and he used those sites to masturbate. I couldn't find the profiles on any sites because he had listed our ages as 23/24 and I had been searching for couples 18/19. Craig couldn't find our information because when Ryan received my text last night he went into damage control mode and deleted everything. He had used inappropriate photos of me to lure people into chatting with him. I'm young and relatively attractive, so I guess I was a good bet. I threatened to call and tell my dad, who is a sheriff, About all of this if he doesn't take down all of it. I'm meeting him at a coffee shop tomorrow to look through his phone and laptop to ensure all my photos are gone. Needless to say, we're done. Craig said he was sorry and that he didn't want to speak with me ever again. And that him and his wife only were interested in swinging because they thought Ryan and I were hot. I still don't know how the fuck he found me on Facebook, and he stopped responding. So I blocked him. Today was kind of a shit day. Relevant comments. Comment 1. OP, I read your updates and I am so sorry that this has happened to you. Needless to say that I think it was very good that you so firmly decided to not give him another chance. I just feel that I have to say one more thing. I would tell your dad anyway. Even if Ryan shows you an empty phone and an empty laptop, you have no idea if he's made a backup somewhere. An extra hard drive or a cloud service. Besides, your photos were out on the internet for God knows how long. There's a big chance that someone else have these photos on their computer now. There's a reason why posting images of unknowing participants is illegal. I recommend that you tell your dad and report Ryan OP. Yeah, I'll definitely talk to my dad. It's going to be an awkward conversation, but you're right, Ryan did something terrible to me and who knows who else he's stolen photos from. I have face blindness, and my BF's tests are overwhelming. How can I clearly communicate that this behavior is hurtful and unacceptable? Hi y'all, sorry for posting this. If it's not okay, I can delete it. I've been with my BF for almost a year now. I love him dearly, and he loves me too, I'm guessing, but there's one thing that's causing a lot of issues for us. I suffer from prosopagnosia, face blindness, which means it's really hard for me to recognize people's faces. I usually go by other characteristics to put a name to a person, like hairstyle, facial hair, marks, skin colors, accessories, etc., but it's still really tough. It's caused me severe anxiety and other mental health struggles. I'm lucky to have wonderful people around me though, who are aware and try to help. They'll introduce themselves when we start talking, wear something they know I've linked to them, or whatever. Usually my BF does this too, but sometimes he likes to test me and it's incredibly stressful. He shaved off his beard once, a few times he wore a completely different style of clothing, or changed his hairstyle, all without warning me. In those moments he won't tell me who he is, or say someone else's name, just to see if I'll figure out it's him. He'll make jokes saying he'll try to switch with one of his friends and see if I'll stay loyal. I usually do realize it's him, but it causes me a lot of anxiety. We've had big fights on this. He says he's allowed to change his look. I'm not a cartoon character. I ask him to warn me. Don't get me wrong, he cares about me, but I don't think he gets how stressful it is. How do I make it clear? We have a lot of great times together, there's just this bump. Update. It's hard to imagine I made this post 19 hours ago and now I'm in the middle of breaking up with him. I'm very tired so I'm going to keep this short. I went to talk to him, showed him this and told him he can't do it anymore. The conversation was, a lot. First he was angry I made this post, then he was angry I was taking it all so serious. Lots of apologies and so on. He again said he was just trying to make a tough situation more light. I said it's too much. He said I can't take a joke and I need to let him be him. That he always tells me when he's been joking and if he was really keen on hurting me he'd just do things and not tell me, so his telling proves he cares. That one made me feel uncomfortable. At one point he said he just wanted to test if it was real, because I could just be using it as an excuse to do anything. I left after that cause we were just going in circles. There was a lot of me making an issue of one small thing. I'm exhausted. He's still blowing up my phone with love and apologies, but you guys made me realize a lot. Thanks, really. I'm trying to stay rational about it but it's hard because I do care about him a lot. I'm gonna get a few hours of sleep. Thank you again. Relevant comments. Comment 1. He is messing with your safety. Does he not realize that? OP. I don't think he realizes how confusing it all is. There was a moment he did the opposite, acting all weirded out when I thanked him for a nice date, saying it wasn't him and though I knew it was, I still started to doubt myself. He did say it was a joke soon after but it caused such a panic. He hasn't done it again but it took me a long time to feel comfortable again. Comment 2. Making someone feel unsafe is not a joke. Gaslighting someone you care about is not a joke. Comment 3. Holy smokes, that's terrifying. Not to recognize a familiar face with a major change like that. That is like nightmare fuel. That your BF does it to you, multiple times on purpose is scary. I don't know if there is a way you can explain it to him if he doesn't get it. It seems he enjoys your panic. Which is not a good thing for a partner. If this was my partner I would get a tattoo or something. And I don't have any. OP, my dad actually got a tattoo on his arm for me, which is a great comfort. I hadn't realized how messed up everything is until reading all these replies. Comment 4. Your boyfriend is basically abusing you in emotional situations. He thinks it's hilarious you struggle and get severe anxiety, which isn't normal, nor does it mean he cares about you. This is a huge red flag. OP. Abuse is a really big word, but I do agree it's not okay. I'm seeing him soon, we'll see how it goes. Update 1. Hi y'all, hope it's okay. I will post a little update. Things went batshit crazy. A lot has happened in the last days. I'm really grateful to you all, honestly. I wasn't aware about the real meaning of his pranks, and what it said about him and our relationship. I went to talk to him the same evening I made that post, with the intention of making clear he can't pull all that anymore. The conversation escalated. We talked for hours into the night and every day since. There's been a lot of messages. He got angry about the Reddit post I made. I showed him. Angry at you guys. Angry that I couldn't take a joke and listen to strangers. Said things like he in the beginning didn't believe I actually suffered from it, and would use it as an excuse to cheat on him. That now he does believe, but, due to bad breakups in the past, he has a hard time trusting I won't use it as an excuse regardless. Said he was joking about it because he wanted to make a tough situation lighter, and that's just his sense of humor. That if I loved him, I'd accept that. When I made it clear I was done, it got even worse. He began apologizing a lot. Said he didn't realize it was such a big thing for me. Again, didn't make any sense with all said before. In the same breath he said that he at least told me. To the people who thought he actually had planned to trick me by using one of his friends, I think y'all may be very right. To be honest, I was done. I do care about him a lot. Can't just shut that off, but it's never going to work. There's been many messages / calls / etc. He dropped some vague hints that sometimes he pulled pranks I wasn't aware of. I don't know if that is true, or he's just in a bad place right now. He also came to my place to apologize again. But I suspect he didn't expect I'd immediately recognize him, as he didn't apologize till I said his name. He's not evil, but just very messed up. I blocked him everywhere, told him not to show up anymore and that a friend would give him his stuff. I'm going to delete this account soon, but I wanted to thank you guys for helping me realize it. I genuinely don't think I would have. I'm heartbroken, but a bit relieved as well. Thanks for all the support and kindness. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I'm glad you broke up. Someone who loves you shouldn't ever do that to you. Just curious about your condition. Do you also have issues with recognizing voices as well as faces? I can only imagine how hard it must be to deal with. OP. Actually, voices are one of the traits I go by to recognize someone. Voices, posture, tattoos, hairstyle, and so on. Thank you loads. Update 2. This is probably a bit stupid, but that boy has got me questioning my own mind. Either way, sorry if this is a bother. I broke up with my BF a few weeks ago. I had realized, in part thanks to Reddit, that some of his behavior was absolutely not okay, and when I tried to talk to him, the conversation escalated to me breaking up with him. I have a pretty severe case of face blindness, prosopagnosia. It means I can't remember people's faces and go by other characteristics to try and put a name to someone. Voice, hairstyle, posture, etc. People around me know and introduce themselves when we meet and other things to make it easier. I have a lot of anxiety because of it. He used to try and test me, which gave me a lot of stress. Changed up his look without warning to see if I knew it was him, and a lot more. He called it pranks. He is a jokester. So we broke up. It's been a lot. He'd been calling or messaging non-stop with both apologies and non-apologies, till I blocked him. In moments of a lot of emotion I said things like I never wanted to see him again, and he'd reply that he was hurt, that I wouldn't even know if it was him and I was lucky he wouldn't do it. Made me feel icky. He contacted me again yesterday, through a new account, saying he just wants one more face-to-face conversation, if only to give him his stuff that is still at my place and get some closure so we can both move on. I said my plan was to get a mutual friend to bring it over to him. He was hurt. He did seem a lot more calm than before and told me we were together for a year. He just wanted one conversation after I suddenly broke things off. That he had some time to process now, etc., and that he doesn't understand how he suddenly, after a year of loving each other, became so evil I couldn't have one chat with him. But I don't feel good about it. My gut is telling me this will not be a good conversation. My worst fears are telling me he might play a trick to prove some point. Beta if I don't reply anymore, just say no. Edit. I didn't expect all these replies. I hope it's okay to respond like this. Thank you all, really. I think I knew already but somehow started to doubt myself. The past weeks have been a lot. I really appreciate and need these words. I'm ready for all of this to be over and done with. Also, just a little thank you in general. Reddit's been a wonderful community and it's helped me a lot. Update 3. It's been a wee bit, and since I'm still getting messages about this, I thought I'd just give one big update for this. So more than a month ago I broke up with my BF because he kept pulling pranks involving my face blindness. I can't recognize faces and am dependent on other aspects to recognize someone, and even then it's still confusing. After that he'd been bugging me that he wanted to meet up, so we could get some closure. My gut was telling me not to, but I felt guilty. With you guys' advice, and my own gut feeling in mind, I decided not to go. I asked a friend, Roger, to go bring him his stuff and kept him blocked, including blocking the new accounts he'd made. Roger came back with a letter from him, to me. The letter in itself was apologetic. He even said he was grateful for our time together and took full responsibility. It ended with him saying he'd respect it if I chose not to reply or message. Honestly, a lot of very respectful words. I still decided not to get in touch. Still trying to get over the breakup myself. But I did appreciate it, till I found out he wasn't letting go like he said. Roger and some other mutual friends let me know he was asking them about me. A lot, if I had read the letter, if I was seeing someone else, already. And so on. Couple of days ago he showed up at my place. He was clearly not sober and upset. He just seemed so broken, so I, stupidly, let him in. For a while he was just being miserably nice, while I got him water and stuff. But the more sober, the more angry he got. At that point I messaged basically everyone I knew to come. I didn't think he'd hurt me, but I didn't feel comfortable being alone with him regardless. Among the many accusations of me not even having the decency to reply, that I clearly never cared about him and that I was a horrendous person, he told me I cheated on him and didn't even know it. So how could I blame him for not trusting me? I'm not gonna lie, I was trying to stay calm but failed. And I know I should have not lost my cool. I screamed at him, asked him what he was talking about. Apparently on a night out with him and others, he asked his friend Mike, who knows of my face blindness and has similar characteristics as my ex, apart from a different voice and smell, to swap out with him and kissed me. And I didn't know. I don't know if he's lying or not. But knowing I was drinking and in a crowded loud room, I know it's a possibility. Especially since Mike tried to kiss me another time, though then I immediately realized it was him and lost my shit at him. When I told my then BF, he was more angry than I had ever seen him, so IDK if the time was a plan as well or not. Either way Mike is a disgusting human. I know it's just a kiss, but it did make me sick to my stomach just thinking about how they might have played me. I told him to get out, he didn't. Luckily it didn't take long for some people to arrive and get him out. I'm endlessly grateful for the people I have around me. I'm staying at my parents' place now, took a break from work and am looking into therapy. My mom and dad, who got a tattoo years ago just so I would never doubt it's him, are treating me like a princess and reminding me of the kindness people deserve. Haven't looked into a restraining order, but might if it continues. Thanks to you all for helping me see what's right in this situation. Reddit has been a wonderful community I am very grateful for. I probably won't update anymore, as this is over and done with. But I'm glad I got to pour my heart out to y'all. Update 4. We broke up nearly 3 months ago. It wasn't pretty. There were a lot of things not right between us. Among other things, he kept joking with the fact that I have a severe case of face blindness. I wasn't perfect in this relationship either BTW, not trying to make him the villain. Usually I go by voice, obvious traits and so on. I'm lucky enough to have a lot of wonderful people around me who'll introduce themselves once we start talking, warn me if they change their looks or even wear something that'll help me, like my dad who got a tattoo just for me. But it's still hard and gives me so much anxiety. So maybe I'm imagining it all? I stayed with my parents and wee cousins for a while after the breakup, but since I'm home, I feel like he's still around. The first time, I went to a club with a friend and her BF, started dancing with a guy and went outside with him to get some air. The moment we stepped outside and I heard his voice, I knew it was him. I was so sure. I freaked, went inside again and left with my friend. I messaged him later and he denied it vehemently, telling me he was not even near there. That we can meet up and talk if I want. My friend says she's not sure, she was off with her BF and didn't see him. So maybe I'm wrong. My gut says it was him, but I can't trust my brain with these things. There's been more incidents like this since. If I go out, sometimes I just feel like he's there. Like I'll see a guy focused on me and will know it's him, but he'll deny it. Or someone will come to my job and I'll recognize the voice, But he responds so confused and I'll feel like a crazy person making a scene, so I just quietly give him what he needs. I'll go to the grocery store and a guy will suddenly be next to me. He won't even say anything to me, but the smell traits tell me it's him. But then later he denies it all. It's not every day, or something. Once a week, maybe not even that. But it's enough to make me feel so on edge. The thing is, I could be wrong. Maybe it was never him. I don't go out a lot anymore, unless I'm with someone. I keep my phone in my hand in hopes of snapping a picture to show to my friends. Looking into how to get a camera. I don't know what else to do, really. I'm afraid if I talk to others about it, they'll simply dismiss it. At the same time he's still messaging me, just as kindly as when we first started dating. He says he's worried about me, that he wants to help. And I just feel like I'm going crazy. Maybe I am. Update 5. I have a quite severe case of face blindness, but have my own ways to get around, like all of us. But still I can never be completely sure who's in front of me until they confirm it. I'm sure you know the feeling. Now I have had wonderful people in my life who make it so much easier for me. But have you had people who don't do that? My previous BF messed with me sometimes and I sometimes worry he might still be. But it's hard to be sure, when I can't trust what I see. Sometimes I'm so sure it's him, but he'll deny it and I can never convince myself to be 100% certain of what I saw. Do you have any things you did to deal with people who messed with you? Or didn't you take your prosopagnosia seriously? New update. First, thanks to the mods for allowing me to post this update. I don't know if anyone will see this, but I keep getting messages about this, very kind ones, for which I'm grateful, and thought I'd just do a wee update. I'm not in the best place mentally, so I will keep this short. This will also be my last one, as Liv taken plenty of your time as is and don't really know what to do with the attention, though I'm extremely appreciative of all the support and advice. I posted here a while ago about how I wasn't sure if my ex was messing with me, and my face blindness, or if I was just being paranoid. I now know it's both. I really did feel like a crazy person. The day I made the post I broke off contact with him again. I got a few more messages from him, all kind and concerned-ish. Even some mutual friends, and one girl I barely know, reached out saying they were worried because of what my ex told them. But here's the thing, I did manage to subtly make two videos, 2 different times, in which my parents could clearly see him. Honestly, I was an absolute mess. Since then I've also been staying with my parents again and took a break from work. We're trying to look into a restraining order, but it's not that easy. There's some redemption though. A friend did what I didn't have the balls to do and completely exposed him. Got some very angry messages from my ex after, in which he, among other things, said he just happened to be in the same place, but now I'm making him out to be some kind of stalker because of my insecurities. Doesn't explain why he didn't just say it was him though. Or how it happened at least twice in less than 2 weeks. That's where we're at right now. I wish I could tell you more. I'm kind of stuck right now. I have no proof about the previous times. Even more so, there's been moments in the past weeks I also thought it was him, and it wasn't. Either confirmed by video, or because I wasn't alone. Then there's been some times in the last weeks where I didn't manage to get any recording, photo. Though I am relieved to have some answers, I'm also heartbroken. I don't know how to process knowing there's people that'll abuse my flaws in this way. I feel incredibly paranoid and it's exhausting. I'm looking into moving away. At the same time I'm hopeful this is the end of it, that him getting exposed will be the end of this. Multiple people have told him to back off and leave me alone. I'm happy to be home with my parents for now. I'm safe, thanks for all the advice. Relevant comments. Commenter, dude is an abusive psycho. Put him on blast. He has serious mental problems. OP, I'm gonna sound like an absolute idiot, but I still often feel conflicted about it. I wish he'd just admit to everything. There's a lot of things that feel uncertain and I'm having a hard time letting those go. Like, I only have proof about those 2 times. What if he's right and it was only those 2? Still wouldn't be okay, but IDK, either way, just hope it all ends here. This is fucked up by texting my date that I might end up marrying him just seconds after our date ended. This just happened to me. Literally 10 minutes ago. I am dying. I am dead. End me now, oh holy ghost. I thought this only happened in some poorly written rom-coms. The kind where life hardly imitates the real one. I want to bury myself and never come to see the light again. Why me? Oh, why me? 10 painfully long minutes ago, exalted by the wonderful date I went with this handsomely gorgeous man who also happened to be a friend of mine for the last 3 years, against my apartment door that I had just closed on his beautiful face, I typed these words that will fiercely haunt me now. Bitch, I think I'm going to end up marrying this guy. This was meant for my best friend, the only other soul I could muster to express my vulnerable feelings. I sent this deeply poetic text to him instead. Do you think there is a void big enough in this planet to hold all my misery? All the embarrassment? Do you think I can make a pact with the devil to turn back time? I would just need 10 minutes. That'd be really nice. Can I please die now? Literal and metaphorical death is the only relief I might know. I am currently in my library, sprawled across the floor intently staring at the ceiling. Man, I think I'll be here forever. TLDR, I mistakenly texted my date that I might end up marrying him as we just ended our date. Realized too late the text meant for my best friend was sent to him instead. Bitch, I owe you an update. Good news, there's so much staring at the ceiling one can do before pure boredom kicks in and the realization that the desire to scream fuck 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 at the top of your lungs will most likely not last for an eternity. Bad news, you guys did me dirty by blasting my still fresh embarrassment on the front page and apparently on a famous Portuguese radio show this morning. Cool. So, on to the meaty love update. Once I realized the text blunder, I quickly texted him that it was not meant for him, with a crying emoji for good measure. Sweet man that he is. He responded immediately to let me know that he doesn't read text not meant for him. I subsequently asked for permission to die. He said. Please don't. This morning, he texted me about some travel plans we have down the line. Bless this handsome man. The gods are cruel, but not that cruel. This is where I should clarify that the original post was obviously a tad hyperbolic, just like that text, go figure. I slept well last night, and I also laughed. At myself, the blunder, just the ridiculous timing. What also got imprinted on me was that exact moment I wrote and sent that text. The moment he leaned and kissed me goodnight, I looking at him as I closed my apartment door, locking it and at once turning around and heavily sighing and smiling, keys still in hand. 2 weeks ago he had proposed going on a walk at the park. I had an inkling somehow that after knowing each other for 3 years, he was going to finally, perhaps, become vulnerable and share a few things. I had been in a serious relationship when we met and, what I know now to be out of respect and my ironclad boundaries, he never made any advances. But I was single now. And at the park, sitting there, together, he looked at me and said he had feelings for me. Long time, 3-year-long feelings. And right there at Prospect Park, on a clear night, under some 35 visible stars, we counted, he kissed me. Last night, it was my turn to be vulnerable, even if accidentally. For once, I think I understand Ted. He was always the guy I wanted to throw my shoe at whenever his ridiculous face showed up on the screen, which was a lot. As for the library, I'm not Jane Austen, but I'm a New Yorker, and the luxury of ample space is not something I recognize. My dream as a child refugee, growing up in deep poverty, was to have a dedicated place for all the books I could buy when I would grow up and have money. Here's a pic of my library nook that I built through vintage thrifting, DIY projects and patience, the library. This is it folks, the update. I might prefer this life over any rom-com. Relevant comments. The pic of the library is gone, but OP explains it in a comment you guys. It's not a literal library. It's a corner of my apartment I've turned into a library nook. Also, for what is worth, this is an embarrassing story, that just literally happened to me, but believe me as a refugee, who has suffered through deep poverty from early childhood, I'm well aware of all of the hardships existing out there. Now, let me go back to staring at the ceiling. Comment 1. You just ruined my mental picture of you in a dramatic swoon across a plush tapestry on the floor of a dusty Victorian library, cheeks flushed and with the back of your hand across your forehead, muttering things like, woe is me and verily, I am vexed. Comment 2, make it into a joke. Bring up that's what they say in those rom-coms and honestly just make it a laughable experience for both. Example, bitch I think I'm going to end up marrying this guy. Says every girl on a rom-com. Make it into a quote. I don't know how to explain it but I'm the type of person to turn my fuck up into a joke. OP, I'm probably going to greet him with a chirpy hi husband, next time I see him. Comment 3, you can only refer to him as bitch from here on out. Update, 3 years after I mistakenly pressed send, texting this gorgeous specimen of a guy I would marry him seconds after ending our first date, keys still in hand as I struggled to both text and lock the door and subsequently sprawled across my library wishing for the floor to engulf me. I did end up marrying the man. Damn, what in the world life. Thought I'd let you guys know since you did help me with your funny comments and shared shameful moments to eventually get myself up that fateful evening, dust myself off, and not commit cringe seppuku. It's been 3 years of pure joy and he's still as dreamy and kind you guys. And it was kids, that's how I met your father after all. See you in the next chapter. TLDR, bitch, I married the man. Sending that text by mistake 3 years ago telling him I'd marry him right after our first date was just the truth. After discovering my husband's autism and kitty food preference, I faced deceit and marital stress, leading to my decision to divorce. Well, it's been a lot longer than the 1-week update I promised. I could make excuses but I won't. For those of you who don't want to read my original post, I asked for help with my husband's food preference issues, and through talking with many people on here and, ultimately, his mother, it was revealed that he was diagnosed with autism as a child. Some of the comments on my original post were not so kind. I got a lot of accusations that still hurt me. Some just make me angry, particularly the person who commented simply, "Please don't bully him. He's my goddamn husband. Not a schoolyard friend, not a sibling, not a child. Infantilizing him doesn't help his case at all." Moving on. I was very upset as he had never mentioned anything to me. We've discussed all sorts of medical issues together, but his diagnosis never came up. I want to stress this. This isn't a matter of me not wanting to be married to an autistic man. This is a matter of my husband keeping something important from me and causing me a great deal of stress that could have been avoided if I was aware of his diagnosis. For example, I continuously pushed him to try new foods or attend concerts or visit loud amusement parks. I knew he wasn't particularly thrilled about any of those things, but they are all very normal couple activities that I wanted us to experience together. Had I been aware of his autism, I would have had a better understanding of how negatively these things affected him. And made more of an effort to integrate things he liked with things I liked, maybe a smaller local band, or a craft fair instead of an amusement park. Anyways. That's the backstory. Read below for the update. Update. I confronted him about my conversation with his mother the night before our counseling appointment. I made sure to bring it up casually so I didn't become angry again. He tried to brush me off at first, saying he didn't know what I was talking about. After talking for a bit, he eventually confessed that he not only knew of the diagnosis but deliberately kept it from me. He said I was his dream and he didn't want to do anything to ruin our perfect relationship. I explained how him keeping this from me hurt me. I explained how I could have been there to support him instead of feeling like he needed to hide. He said he wasn't ashamed of it at all. He explained that it's just not something that affects him anymore. I, again, explained how it affects me, but he didn't seem to care. I didn't show him the post I made, but I used some of the advice from you all to try to explain why his autism really does in fact still affect his life. We went to bed upset. The next day he acted like nothing happened. We ate breakfast, he had chicken nuggets, and went about our day. I kept expecting him to bring it up, but he never did. I didn't have the nerve to bring it up again until later at the marriage counselor's office. I spoke to the counselor so as not to seem accusing and explained that this was an issue that bothered me. My husband actually laughed and said he assumed I'd gotten over it by now. When I explained that no, I really hadn't, he got angry with me and stormed out. The counselor tried to mediate, but it wasn't much use as my husband went to wait in the car. I was worried he'd leave without me, so I cut the meeting short. Our ride home was quiet. It wasn't until we got home that I said I was worried he was keeping other things from me too. He said he'd been reading online about how women can't understand autism and therefore he didn't think it was important to tell me about it. I said that was the weakest excuse I'd ever heard. He then said that I'd leave him if I knew. I said if I left him it'd be because he's a liar. Apparently he told all of our mutual friends that he'd just been diagnosed with autism and I was considering leaving him because of it. Now many of our friends won't talk to me and act very cold when we run into each other in public. I don't know what else he's told them, but I think he told someone I cheated on him as a fake account has been commenting horrible things about me and my supposed sexual habits on all of my Instagram posts. I keep reporting them, but then it seems like another just pops up in its place. I haven't decided if divorce is the right path. I know he's been browsing incel and other bitter male-centric websites. One of his friends is a self-described incel, so I'm even more convinced that this isn't the man I married. I'm mostly just confused. I've been avoiding him at home and it feels like more of a roommate situation at this point. He doesn't really leave his den until it's time for work, and then he's back in the den until bed. It seems like everything is messed up, just from me wanting to help. I don't even know what to expect at this point, much less how to move on from here. Edit. There are so many more comments than I anticipated. I'm trying to at least read through most of them, although I think I'm past my emotional ability to reply. I'm really shocked at how overwhelmingly supportive people are. Thank you. I'm going to be discussing divorce with a lawyer. I don't know how to bring it up with him, but I'm past the point of caring. You're all right. I dread coming home to him in the evenings. I dread if he will miraculously want to talk. This isn't healthy for either of us. At the very least, some time apart would be good. That's all for now. I don't think I'll update past this as I'm already uncomfortable with how quickly this blew up. But I will be living elsewhere by the end of the month. I slapped my mother-in-law. My husband scolded me and told me that I'm not allowed to do that to his mother. She and he are both racists. Hi Reddit. I made this throwaway because I need some help to know if I should apologize to my husband because yesterday I slapped my mother-in-law in front of him. For context, my husband is white and I am mixed. My mom is Puerto Rican and my dad is white. My mom has very dark skin and my dad is pretty fair. I'm pretty white passing, which for those who don't know, means you can't really tell that I'm Latina unless I tell you. A running for mother-in-law joke is that melanin skips a generation because my maternal grandpa is also very fair but my maternal great-grandma is very brown. With that out of the way, I'll get into my situation. I have been with my husband for 7 years, married for 5. We have a 3-year-old little girl who is the light of my life. When she was born, she had a head full of dark brown curls, dark brown eyes and a fairly olive complexion. She looks like me when I get tan. You can definitely tell she's part Latino. Despite knowing all this, my mother-in-law has gotten it into her head that my daughter isn't my husband. She's been telling anyone who will listen that I must have had an affair because there's no way her son's child could be that color. Yeah, how nice. My mother-in-law has always been standoffish with me. She never made a big effort to get to know me and was always more polite than anything else. Mother-in-law has made some offhanded comments before about Latinos, but husband would brush them off because she's from another time. I wanted to write off her behavior as just her not being educated enough. I realize now that was my mistake because it gave her the okay to keep going. When my husband and I heard from my sister-in-law that mother-in-law was saying this, we invited her over to talk about this. I was really hoping we'd be able to fix this. However, what happened was my mother-in-law going on a rant for like 15 minutes. It consisted of her outing herself as a racist. Saying she knew girls like me couldn't control themselves, that she knew from the start what would happen. The nerve I had to pass my daughter off as her, also some very colorful slurs. Husband and I were frozen in shock because she hadn't even stepped into the house and was just screeching on our doorstep. What snapped me out of it was when she started to insult my mom, saying she probably did the same to my dad. I don't know what came over me next. I've never hit someone before. But I ended up smacking her so hard her glasses fell off. That's what got my husband to start talking. Or rather yelling at his mother and me for acting this way while mother-in-law started to wail. Yes, I shouldn't have hit her, I know. That's wrong. But hearing him imply I was in the wrong the same way mother-in-law made me more angry. I told him he's just as much a racist as his mom if he was trying to make me out to be as bad as her. I got my keys from inside the house while he was trying to calm his mom down and left. I drove to a hotel and spent the night there. Now it's the afternoon and I haven't left the hotel room since checking in. Husband and several other friends and Faye mother-in-law have been trying to reach me. I only replied to my sister-in-law to tell her I'm safe at a hotel and asked her to not tell my husband what hotel I'm at. Guilt is starting to sink in and I'm questioning everything. Like, did I allow my mother-in-law to do this? Did I showcase behavior that made her think I was cheating? Does my husband think I cheated and that's why mother-in-law has this in her head? And of course, should I be apologizing to my husband for hitting my mother-in-law? I know violence is wrong and I hate making excuses, but I just couldn't handle someone talking about my mother-in-law that way. So Redditors, should I be apologizing to my husband? How do we get through this? Any and all advice is appreciated. Edit, no. My daughter was not at the house. We sent her to have a weekend sleepover with my sister's mother-in-law. I'll be picking her up tomorrow afternoon. Edit 2, I have posted an update you can find on my page. Relevant comments. Constant Pen 4742. I would be scared to raise my daughter with that mother-in-law. I would do paternity just to shut down any ideas with the husband, but your marriage just took a hit and if he doesn't step up, it would be difficult to move on. OP answer, this is what I'm most afraid of. She's a kind of matriarch, so if we were to go NC, it would be with the rest of the Faye mother-in-law too. However, I don't want my daughter in the range of an environment where she can be subjected to passing and direct comments. I don't want her to grow up thinking she's less because of her heritage. Update 1, thank you to everyone who gave very insightful advice. I spent quite a bit reflecting and was able to get an emergency meeting with my therapist this morning. I only have my sister here as my parents moved back to Puerto Rico to be with my grandparents 5 years ago. Some questions I want to answer real quick. How old are we? My husband is 28 and I just celebrated my 30th birthday. We met when he was 21 and I was 23. Where was my daughter? I sent her to my sister's on Friday for a weekend sleepover with my sister's mother-in-law. I picked her up Monday afternoon and we had a little mommy-daughter time going to her favorite place, Costco. Yes, my 3-year-old loves Costco. We got home around 7 after we had dinner. My husband was waiting and I told him we'd talk after kiddo went to bed. When she was for certain asleep, we sat and had a long conversation not just about the fight and his mother, but also race and culture. I saw how my mother-in-law was treated based on skin color, and while my husband understands racism, he admitted to never really grasping the complexities, especially colorism. A lot of you jumped to me taking my daughter and leaving or telling me he'd leave me. Sorry to disappoint, but no, we're not getting a divorce or anything of the sort. He apologized to me for not standing up for me before and then, acknowledging he didn't want to think of his mother in a racist light. I also apologized for hitting her because in the end, no, it doesn't help us. He did forgive me and said if it wasn't his mom saying it, he'd probably slap them too. We will be going to a marriage counselor, we decided, hoping to find one that specializes in interracial marriage. Our daughter is going to face challenges in the future because of her race. It's sad to say, but unfortunately racism is still alive and we want to know how to protect her and uplift her so she does not feel ashamed of her heritage. We've made the decision to go no contact with her and any people who try to bridge communication between us and her. She will have no contact with my daughter unless it's years down the road and she shows significant changes in her behavior. My husband will be driving to her house tomorrow to inform her of our decision. I'd consider a paternity test and DNA test, but only if mother-in-law pays. I don't want to entertain this on my own dime. We've also decided to not make any public posts regarding this. If people want to believe her story, that is on them, not us. My husband knows our baby is his. The irony is she looks more like him than me. Her curls are even from him. I do hope this is my last update. If anything else happens, I might come back. Thank you again to everyone who gave valuable advice. I am sad my daughter won't have a grandmother in the States, but it's more reason for us to plan trips to PR. Relevant comments. Icy_spinach_48. You dealt with this very well. People on here are too quick to suggest divorce over every problem they read about. Well done to both of you for tackling it maturely. I wish you both the very best for the future update. Hello everyone. I think I jinxed myself by saying in my first update, I hope this will be my last post, because unfortunately, for a lack of a better term, shit continues to hit the fan. For those of you saying I should be arrested for slapping my mother-in-law, I hate to disappoint, but she is not pressing charges. This is all thanks to my husband who said he'd expose my father-in-law's various affairs. Yes, it turns out that my father-in-law cheated numerous times on my mother-in-law until his death 2 years ago. According to hubby, he was paying for sastristical favors even on his deathbed. This is deeply disturbing because father-in-law and mother-in-law appeared to have a loving marriage. Apparently, that was just for show. I can't even begin to imagine how hubby is feeling. We talked about it and he said it's something he felt deep shame for keeping from me, but also shame because his parents' marriage wasn't at all what they pretended it was. Husband and I are still looking for a couples therapist who specializes in interracial marriage. Husband is also looking for a therapist of his own after the conversation with mother-in-law opened his eyes to a lot of other traumas and issues he feels haven't been properly worked through. I'm so proud of him for taking these steps. Now on to how the conversation on Wednesday went, which is of course why I made this update to continue to vent. As I said in my first update, husband went over to mother-in-law's house to inform her that her behavior is unacceptable and will be going no contact for the foreseeable future. Mother-in-law didn't take this well. The irony is that she told husband that he couldn't keep her from her only grandchild. Funny because she spent the week claiming our daughter wasn't his. She threw some colorful insults at me, claiming he was never like this before he met me and that this was all my idea to hide my apparent affair. In response, husband said if she's so certain that I'm cheating and that our daughter isn't his, she can pay for a paternity test and a PI to find my affair partner. You know, an affair partner that doesn't exist. Husband says mother-in-law's face turned a comical shade of red and he swears there was steam coming from her ears. This is when mother-in-law said she'd press charges and husband said he'd just tell everyone about father-in-law's serial cheating. Mother-in-law apparently burst into tears then, got down on her knees, wailing he couldn't leave her. Hubby just pushed her off and left. I had already blocked her number so she couldn't contact me, but she blew up husband's phone till he came home and he blocked her. Husband is going to be sending her an email, reiterating what he said about NC, and until she proves she's gotten help, understands she was wrong, and apologizes, she won't be seeing any of us. Both of my husband's sisters called us to get the scope of the problem and agreed to set the record straight with anyone who tries to get a hold of us for mother-in-law or tries to echo her conspiracy theories. Anyone who wants to back her up can crowdfund for a paternity test and private investigator. We've spent too long building up our finances to waste them on the ravings of a mad woman. Husband and I did read comments on the posts. I did tell him about it and show him, and we both thank you for the support and helpful comments. Husband has a special message for those doubting me and saying I should get arrested, get fucked incel. I love this man so much and I'm so lucky to call him my husband and the father of my little girl. We'll be celebrating mother-in-law being out of our lives by taking our daughter out to Texas Roadhouse, eating an ungodly amount of rolls, and seeing Despicable Me 4. Wishing everyone love and thank you again for all the support. Edit. I forgot to add this too, but she also threatened grandparents' rights on the grounds that I endangered my daughter by taking the medication I use for my autoimmune disease during pregnancy. We doubt she'll actually go forward with that, but we will consult a lawyer regardless. Relevant comments. Do Coffee 6106. It sounds like you and your husband have been through an incredibly challenging and emotional time. It's great to hear that you're both taking steps to address the situation with professional help and that you have a support system in place. OP answer, thank you. I feel equally blessed that his two sisters support our decision to go NC and won't be trying to defend or speak on mother-in-law's behalf. Snoowords 4839. Look up emotional incest. Mother-in-law needs therapy to stop trying to make your husband take the place of father-in-law. Start that fuck you binder. She may call Child Protective Services and tons of other problems. Make sure she isn't on any pickup list for your child. Most states, grandparent rights go nowhere when both parents are married. Cameras and documents. OP answer, thank you for saying the pickup list for daycare. Even though she's never picked her up before, I'm realizing that's a scenario and will be letting her daycare know. Gwynison. This is what I'm most afraid of. She's a kind of matriarch. So if we were to go NC, it would be with the rest of the family too. I'm glad OP and her husband appear to have decided this doesn't matter, because it doesn't. The mother-in-law only remains the matriarch who can dictate what the rest of the family do, cut off OP and husband over their no contact, if they agree with and allow her to do so. And as it seems so far, his own siblings are not going to do that. If they did, well then they're just awful racists like the mother-in-law, or at best enablers of it. So no big loss if they choose to ban them from the family, right? I have 2 weeks to escape my controlling and abusive husband before he returns from a business trip. Throwaway account as my husband and in-laws are following my main. I, 29F, have been married to my husband, 30M, who I'll call Alex. Alex and I met in college during our freshman year. We started off as just friends and got married 7 months ago. I've gotten along with his family, but we aren't super close, but we're friendly enough. The problem is that Alex has begun to make me incredibly uncomfortable. Firstly, he's begun to ask me who I'm meeting with, where, what we plan on doing, how long every single time I leave the house without him. At first I just thought he was being protective and a good partner just in case something happened, but then he started checking my phone after the visits, vetting and researching each of my friends as well. He also has been pursuing me to link my bank account to his, as he's in charge of the finances when he was perfectly fine with keeping them separate before. We fight about it almost every day. Finally, yesterday, when he was preparing to go on a work trip for 2 weeks in California, he demanded I wear a tracker so he could keep an eye on me while he's gone. I can't do this anymore. I feel like I'm suffocating, and his family, who I've spoken to about his worrying behavior, just said he's being careful and protective as a good husband should. I need to gather my things together and find a way to be gone before he gets home without tipping him off. He's always threatened that if he ever found me cheating on him, he'd turn in divorce papers the same day. He keeps a filled-out copy on his desk. I'm going to submit those the day I leave, but there's so much to do. Bergen, finding a new place to live, seeing if my job has any transfers available, packing and moving in 2 weeks. His return flight is on May 11th, so I need to move quickly. I'm posting here because I don't have any close family, and I can't risk dragging my friends into this as we share the same friends. I just needed a place to vent and ask if anyone has any advice on the easiest and safest way to do this. Edit. Oh my god, you guys are amazing. I never even thought to not use his divorce papers. I'll check for cameras before I start any packing or prepping. I may also shred his divorce papers just in case and look into getting a lawyer for myself. I'm in a no-fault divorce state, that much I remember, which will help. I'll update again when I know more. The tracker he wants me to use is a small clip to put on the belt or waistband. I'll wear it unless I'm going or doing something related to me leaving. No pets yet, thankfully. Update 1. So I've gotten a lot of support and helpful advice along with questions I thought I should clarify before I proceed with the update. Some asked why I'd be hiding things from Alex regarding going out and who I'm meeting with. I don't, and I have nothing to hide. However, when he begins to double-check everything I tell him with the other people there, right down to each person I talk to and what I said. Did I send any text messages? Did I order food? How much did I eat? That's when it started to feel like I was slowly being pushed into a corner. It didn't start that bad, but gradually grew worse over time. All of the Reddit subs my in-laws' families are part of are related gardening and DIY, so I highly doubt they'll see this. If so, by the time they do, I'll hopefully be gone. I talked about my job and explained things to my manager. And they promised to look into openings in other states to see if they could get me into one. They'll have an update on that in 3 days. I trust that my bank account is secured, considering he's tried to get into it before and failed. I found one camera in the kitchen, another in the living room and one in our bedroom. As such, I've left them in place for now and done all other planning, either in the bathroom pretending I'm taking a bath. I'm honestly staying away from the domestic violence services as my sister-in-law is unfortunately higher up in those considering she volunteers there, and I have a feeling if I did show up there, they would know in a heartbeat. I can't look for apartments until I get the update from my work, but either or I'm still gonna be leaving the state. The day before I do, I will be changing my number carrier and wiping my laptop and all of his electronics before I do. I've met with 2 lawyers so far and had them look over the paperwork. My husband had prepared and both said that it did have some clauses in it. That could have caused me some trouble down the line. What alarmed all of us was the fact that several of those clauses dealt with future children, and not as a hypothetical. Like several hair suggested, I have a feeling he fully intended on getting me pregnant to keep me trapped and tied to him. There are 3 other locations my job could send me to, and I have. As a precaution, I began looking into all 3 cities and housing in the areas. Just in case one of those, this is the one they send me to. Even if they don't have an opening that they can push me into, then I will just have to quit, move and figure things out on my own. I have enough money to live and survive for a few months until I can pick up another job. Unfortunately, all of our friends are mutuals and would likely be unaware of the consequences of saying or sharing anything I do or say with my husband. I don't have any surviving close family, and obviously my in-laws are not a good resource to rely on. I am on my own, unfortunately, other than the wonderful bonds I've begun to make here. I will update again if I get more information or something else happens. Otherwise, all updates when my work gets back to me. I do plan on leaving before he returns though. Just to make sure that I'm not anywhere near here at that time. Update 2. Good news. My work has an opening I qualify for that will not only shift me across the country, but also comes with a salary increase as well. I've started telling my in-laws and friends that I'm planning a surprise outing for when my husband gets back for just the 2 of us. This way, people don't give me odd looks if they see me out and about. I've even gone as far as asking Mill to show me his favorite recipes. Meanwhile, I've found a moving company that, while small, is willing to work in a storm. The reason is in 5 days, we're supposed to get hit with a large storm front. I plan to shut off the breaker and say we lost power if he asks, just as several people here suggested, and even send him a short clip of the storm. I will have all of my stuff moved that afternoon, and I will be flying out once the weather has cleared enough to do so. I have a lawyer who will push my divorce through, and I've filled out the necessary paperwork so that I don't have to be here for it. I'm not suing for assets or alimony, and I've shredded his divorce papers as well. I've set up a cheap phone plan through Cricket until this is all said and done, at which point I will find a new carrier, number and phone. This one is being wiped and left behind. My laptop is provided by my work, and the IT department inspected it thoroughly and it was clean, thankfully. No other electronics aside from my laptop and new phone will be coming with me. If Alex needs to talk to me, he can do it through my lawyer. Not sure if anything else will happen. My fingers are crossed that he doesn't think anything's amiss until after I leave, and I'm not turning the breaker back on when I do. He can when he gets home. My work is covering the plane ticket, so that at least is one expense I don't have to finagle in. Update 3. It's been a busy week, but I've gotten so much done. Firstly, I am now out of the house and am currently in a hotel while I look for an apartment. It's a big city, bustling with people no matter where you look. We had a pretty bad storm system hit back home that actually lasted 2 days. High winds, thunder, lightning, and even hail everywhere. I didn't take much from the house: my documents, clothes, and important sentimental items. I left all of the furniture and electronics behind. I cleaned the house top to bottom and took pictures on my phone so he couldn't claim I damaged anything when I left. My lawyer has already started divorce proceedings, and my husband will be served on the 8th. His plane is due to land early in the morning, and the sheriff will be there at the house waiting for him. He is very much about public appearances and reputation. My lawyer will be calling him as well to inform him that I am more than willing to air out everything to the public about his actions if it means securing my freedom from him. I will go to court as long as I must to get this pushed through. I haven't told our friends or his in-laws yet. I will do that while he is on the flight to prevent him from getting wind of it before he's handed the divorce papers. I will be calling around and explaining why we're getting divorced, to try and prevent him from twisting this into somehow being my fault. I don't want him trying to claim I had an affair or something, so I want to get the truth out before he can twist this. I'm doing okay. I'm tired, but yet I feel almost jittery and off-kilter. I keep looking over my shoulder and monitoring what I say even when I don't really need to anymore. Hopefully that will fade soon. My work is covering the cost of the hotel, and I'm working on getting my other things in order. I also need to find a new GP as I want to get a full test just to make sure everything is okay. I don't know when my next update will be, probably when the divorce papers are filed or if we have to go to court to push them through. I will try to keep my head up, but it feels like I'm in a whirlwind or something with so many things to do and think about. I kinda thought it would be easier once I got out of the house, but while the fear is smaller, somehow the number of tasks only seems to have grown. Update 4. Firstly, I'm working on getting an apartment still and have applications in at 3 different places and will hopefully hear back from them soon. I'm still going into work here at the new location, so I don't have to worry about burning through my emergency savings completely. I've gotten a lot of emails from Alex, his family and our old friend group asking question after question. I have only sent one return email to Alex, explaining that I don't believe we are truly compatible, and it is best we separate now. That his treatment of me when I'd done nothing to deserve as such was just as much of a deal breaker as cheating was for him. I ended the email with the statement that I would not be contacting him further and anything else he needed to pass on to me or vice versa would be done through my lawyer. For his family and friends, I just typed up one email outlining everything that had happened and why I left. I told them I wished them no ill will, but that such treatment of his wife and partner was not acceptable. That should Alex get remarried in the future, I wish they would help support both partners and not just Alex. Alex, from what my lawyer told me, was livid when he was served. The sheriff actually ended up booking him for assault on an officer and menacing due to the threats he was shouting. His father bailed him out in a few hours, but with the testimony of the sheriff, my lawyer believes I have a very good chance at getting a restraining order. Alex, upon returning to the house, apparently lost his temper again, breaking the dining table into pieces as well as the TV, and putting several holes in the walls. At least that's what one of the emails from one of our friends reported as Alex called him to help him clean up the mess. My lawyer already has pictures of the house I took, with timestamps as evidence nothing had been damaged by me. My friend reported that Alex tried to claim I'd been the one to trash the house, but the holes in the wall were at head height. Alex is 6'3", and I'm 5'4", so he knew that was false. Either way, taking the pictures definitely will help me, so again, thank you everyone here for the advice because I never would have thought of that on my own. My work won't share details of where I am, as I do work with some higher-end clientele who value security and that information won't be gossiped about, and no, I'm not some stripper or escort. I deal with contracts, notary and business management. As such, even if Alex tried to use my work to find me, he wouldn't succeed. Update 5. It's been a little bit, and I thought I'd answer some questions before giving my update. It may be a while after this until things change. Firstly, no, I didn't bring my car. The public transport here is good enough to use without needing one. I have secured an apartment, and the building has good security. You need a key card to enter, and there is a security guard at a desk right by the entrance to the building. As part of my contract, I gave them a photo of Alex and his family so that even in the off chance they do find me, they won't be let in. The responses I got from the emails varied. His family said I was overreacting, and that I owe Alex an apology for the problems this has caused him. The pending criminal charges puts him at risk of losing his job if he's convicted. Alex sent a long email, apologizing and pleading for me to come home. He said he was worried for me, that he is willing to go to therapy if it will appease me. He wants us to remain together, and he didn't think leaving was an appropriate response to his genuine concern and worry for my health and safety. The friends gave somewhat lacking replies, saying that they didn't think Alex was ever going to hurt me and that I shouldn't be letting my imagination run away wild. As much as I want to say I was surprised by the lack of support, I'm honestly not. He intends to fight the divorce. I am letting my lawyer handle it, and I am also pursuing a protective order as well. Once I got approved for my apartment, I also froze my credit. I've changed my phone carrier and number, as well as making sure none of my documents list Alex as next of kin or POA. Some have asked why I was so paranoid about Alex and his possible future actions. The answer for that actually is somewhat simple: my grandmother. I love that woman to bits. As a teen, she explained why my grandfather was never around. He was extremely abusive and manipulative, and her generation didn't allow divorce really. She wouldn't have been able to buy a house or get a good enough job to support her and my mother on her own. As such, she endured it, shielded my mom as she could until my grandfather died. When I felt like I may have been overreacting, I remembered how she'd said she'd always wished she'd been able to see grandfather for what he was early on when she may have been able to annul the marriage. I don't know when I'll update again, maybe when the divorce goes through or if something big happens, but until then, I'm just trying to keep my head above the water. Update 6. It's been a month since my previous update, and I wanted to share some of what's been going on in the meantime. The divorce is proceeding, but even though I don't need him to agree, and he's not, it means I have to go through the courts to get it approved. As such, it could be upwards of 6 months to push it through even though I'm filing without attempting to claim property, alimony or compensation. I just want a clean break and separation. Alex has attempted to use our friends to reach out to me, as he doesn't want to use my lawyer for communication. He's saying it's disrespectful and cowardly to hide behind my lawyer and not meet him face to face. Alex wrote me a letter that he did pass off to my lawyer, but the contents were him justifying his actions and claiming that in today's time it is dangerous for women to be on their own, which is why he was so intent on trying to keep me safe from harm. He wanted me to understand that he was trying to protect me as best he could and was hurt that I would just lie to him and hide my actions from him related to my dissatisfaction with our marriage and my moving. I didn't reply, because at no point did he apologize. All he did was turn everything around on me as I was being overly dramatic, emotional and cowardly. There was a second letter with Alex's from my cell. Her letter was honestly disturbing and completely justified my misgivings regarding approaching her in any kind of professional capacity. She spent 5 paragraphs detailing how Ariel's abusive relationship looked like and that Alex was the furthest thing from abusive. The details she included were all related to financial abuse and physical abuse, nothing like what Alex had been doing. She stated that my attempts to smear her brother's name for attention and clout made me the abuser, not him. I haven't really been able to process that, admittedly. Part of me can't help but wonder if she's right. I mean, I blindsided him by leaving as I did and am refusing to speak with him at all. My old boss recommended that I look into getting into therapy after I moved, and I think I need to. I've had a hard time adjusting to being on my own. I keep censoring myself and haven't even gone out to eat yet. I always end up worrying about what if someone sees me, what if I get in trouble for spending my money on something frivolous. My lawyer is continuing to fight for the divorce, and I shouldn't need to be physically present in court. Any meetings needed between me and the judge can be done via Zoom. I'm trying to avoid confrontation with Alex and his family for now as much as I can and pass both letters to my lawyer in case he needs them. Our friends are mostly trying to avoid taking sides still, and I'm honestly approaching the point of just letting them go as well. I'm tired of fighting for them to understand at this point. I don't know if anything is going to happen, so my next update may not be until around mid-November, depending on how long it takes to push the divorce through. Work is going well, and it's helpful to have something familiar to anchor my day-to-day life when so much has changed and is changing even now. How should I address a team member who feels dissatisfied after accidentally discovering information about other people's salaries in the organization? I work at a mid-sized industry S-corp as a controller, and after 2 years of toiling with the owner, finally convinced him to hire some staff for the finance department. Currently have a finance manager, junior accountant and bookkeeper in my team, all of which do an amazing job considering the circumstances we're expected to meet. The CEO is a massive senile idiot, who undervalues the finance department and thinks we're all a waste. He complains the department is too large, when he expects us to not only work on the main parent company, but also his 3 subsidiaries, one of which is in SA and a major headache to balance each month. Our bookkeeper, 25F, only has an associate in accounting per her agreed contract to educate herself as she works. She's extremely driven, catches a lot of finer details, and is a studious worker. It's also a bonus she's always willing to put on more work, and wants to learn from everyone. However, while grabbing stuff from the main workhorse printer, she saw HR's payroll timesheet and saw everyone's salary. I've been trying to convince the CEO during this year's review to raise her salary from $50K to $60K, as well as maybe get her a title promotion to accounting assistant. She's genuinely a huge asset to our day-to-day life, but the CEO refuses to acknowledge her merits. I keep telling her I'm desperately trying to boost her wage, but I can see her getting depressed. The worst part is she's not confident she can compete in the job market right now until she at least has her BSA. Any advice on how to coach her? I genuinely feel sorry for her and think she's a tremendous worker. Edit. We're a fairly profitable company, But the CEO refuses to reinvest into the businesses. So we have more than enough room to raise her and honestly quite a few others' salaries. But he's a moron set on the mindset that the finance department is useless. Edit 2. Thanks everyone for the advice and being a place to bounce thoughts off of. I'll try to make an update post next week since I had the meeting with HR and our upper management about it. Relevant comments. Commenter. Just be her reference. Help her get out of this shithole by hyping her up to other employers. I'm sure at your position you may have some connections. OP, that's the hard part. I keep encouraging her and giving her positive affirmation that she'll succeed no matter where she applies herself, especially within accounting since she has a great niche for it, particularly in the tax prep side. But she's very soft, and I'm not saying that in a negative light. It took me well over a year to break her out of her shell and actually apply herself, and speak up. I've told her if she truly wishes to leave, I'll vouch as a reference and also see if I can set her up with opportunities, but she won't bite. She's that genuinely rattled that she's, her own words, not going to make it in her current educational status. Commenter, then she needs to be encouraged to get her education. Allow her to study at work during downtimes, push for tuition reimbursement if that's not already being offered, be flexible with her hours so that she can attend classes. It doesn't make sense that she's asking for more money where she is if she doesn't think she can get more money somewhere else. You push for raises based on your marketability and you're prepared to walk out if they can't get you up to market, not because someone with a degree and credentials that you don't have is making more than you. That's not how it works. OP, full reimbursement as long as she gets an A. It's how she got her associates by taking the fundamental courses at a local college while working. However, some of the more advanced classes she can't take all at once, so she's now back to 1 or 2 classes a semester. The current route is almost 2-3 years until she's near her BSA. It's how I managed to convince the CEO to hire her. Her employment contract lists she needs to be actively furthering her education. Otherwise, she's liable for termination. Commenter, I second their reference. If you can't win the fight, time for you all to jump ship. You're probably underpaid too. OP, I am $14,500 underpaid the market average in PA. Considering I'm basically doing work for 4 companies, severely underpaid. But I don't mind it as much since I'm closer to home, actually get OT pay here, prior to my previous job at B4, and WLB is worth the pay dip. However, I may jump ship within the next year if the CEO continues down this route. Commenter, you should fire the HR staff who printed everyone's salary and left it at the printer. Then use those savings in payroll to give the bookkeeper a raise if she deserves it as you suggest. OP, I had a meeting with the HR staff about 2 hours ago. They kept writing it off as an honest mistake and apologized to the bookkeeper for the situation. I'm also setting up a meeting between the CEO, CFO, myself and HR to discuss the impact of this situation, and how fucking reckless them using the main printer. Commenter, what is your goal here? Doesn't sound very productive. There's idiots in every company. OP, one of the many hats I wear is also adjusting company policies, for all departments, for whatever the reason. The CEO wants the controller to do it, so I just do it. So while the premise of the meeting itself doesn't sound too productive, it's still a good way for me to have the CEO acknowledge what went down. Like I said, he's borderline senile and needs these sort of meetings to know what happened. Also, if the bookkeeper decides to leave, I need to have the assurance that the CEO knows the reason why specifically. Not that she left because she sucked at the job, or some other nonsense HR will probably tell the CEO, but that what caused the initial reason is due to HR's lack of compliance to their own conducts. That way, if I need to find a replacement, which I will because we're honestly overworked, the CEO can't give me shit for needing another person. Commenter, just a general question that has been floating in my head since we accountants have pretty good access to financials within the company we work for, but wouldn't the bookkeeper have access to everyone's salary anyways? OP, I think that varies on separation of duties. Traditionally, bookkeepers often can issue payroll if HR doesn't handle it. However, in my company our bookkeeper only sees the total per pay period, not at an individual level, as myself and HR fill out timesheets and process payroll, due to CEO's weird confidentially paranoia. So she may have had an assumed figure in her head seeing our total monthly payroll expense, but never knew how much everyone made. I think what got her is seeing a certain employee's figure, because they are notoriously a shit worker but get paid a lot due to the CEO's racial bias. Update 1. So last Friday, I had a meeting with the CEO, CFO, HR, and myself to address the idiot HR manager using the main copier to print payroll timesheets. The meeting itself went awry, with my focal initiative being centered on addressing lack of compliance to policy, and leak of confidential payroll details, leading to immediate consequences of disgruntled employees. Apparently not just my bookkeeper saw it, but a few others as well. So the HR manager profusely apologized and the CEO basically kept excusing her lack of discipline. The CFO and I already laid out a game plan prior to the meeting, so we discussed how the bookkeeper is disgruntled and it's beginning to affect her commitment here, highlighting that she's a valuable asset and human resource to the finance department and company overall. The CEO asked what my proposed solution was and I brought that with this year's review for 2023, we gave her a title promotion to staff accountant, junior accountant. This would then give more validity to raising her salary from $50,000 to $60,000 to match market rate in PA, on the MINE range, and help retain her dedication and excite her requirement to gain advanced education, BSA and beyond. This is where shit hit the fan. The HR manager says that's not a reasonable proposal and tries to convince the CEO to basically shut this whole meeting down. The CEO, being senile and already having a negative opinion on the finance department, was easily getting swayed and kept asking for the CFO's opinion. The CFO, being a massive kiss-ass, tried to play both sides because he's aware that he can't afford to anger the CEO or myself, since I basically do all of his work anyways. The HR manager then pulls an extremely childish, borderline insulting move. If she's so valuable, why not forego part of your own bonus for the 2023 review and give it to her? Here's the thing. I'm very fortunate to be considered a valuable member of this company, and my annual salary and bonuses are pretty high, even though I'm still below market average. For controller. I also receive an incentive pay for working on the CEO's other 3 subsidiaries, which could cover the $10,000 raise that I'm proposing for my bookkeeper. As I am also underpaid, I also work my butt off for those bonuses and incentives, and unsure if that's 1, even legal, and 2, a viable way to sustain a staff's pay. HR basically just told me to pay my own team's salary, which I'm still pretty aghast they would recommend such action. I didn't provide an answer yet, and luckily the meeting concluded since the CEO had a prior engagement to attend to. My bookkeeper is still at the company, but it's pretty obvious her confidence and vibrant energy is gone. I haven't told her about the details of the meeting, but I can tell she's anticipating an update. Genuinely, she's a great worker and I would love to keep her at the company, so I can continue working with her and developing her accounting career. This is my first time encountering a situation like this in management, so I'm unsure what the move is here. If anyone can provide some advice, that would be greatly appreciated. Relevant comments. Commenter: I want to know what the consequences were for her HR employed. Should have been written up at a minimum. OP: the other HR staff, who I personally think should be the manager instead as he's more objective and stoic, has told me little tidbits here and there. Basically, the HR manager just got written up in a small yelling at. It was basically the equivalent to a slap on the wrist. Other than that, God, who knows? She seemed pretty satisfied with herself walking out of that meeting. Commenter: I'd leave a place like this so fast. Your boss can't wholeheartedly have your back in a situation where you have a clear, reasonable answer to. Peace out. OP: CFO has told me on the side he's willing to increase my bonus this year to basically brush this aside. Trust me, I'm genuinely contemplating it. Commenter: this is all kinds of wrong. You're combining 2 different issues into one. Issue 1, data breach. Issue 2, disgruntled employee and review of finance team structure. Issue 1 isn't really your direct concern. Head of HR and CEO to discuss. Data controller 2 if you have one. Complain that your direct reports are disgruntled at the misconduct and leave it at that. Issue 2 isn't any of HR's concern. CFO structures the finance team as they see fit. CEO signs off any changes to budget and headcount, if needed. I wouldn't give any credence to the HR manager's bonus comment. It shows their immaturity and others will notice. OP: I'll try to provide more details that I maybe should have included in the original post. Issue 1 is my problem because for some reason, the CEO made policy and procedure the controller's job, instead of like most other companies where either HR or COO handles it. So for some reason, it's fallen on my lap to make sure every department is compliant to their own manuals and overall company manuals. Issue 2 is also a problem I have to address with HR involved, as for some reason the CEO drags HR into the employee reviews. It used to be just CEO and department managers to review with their team's performances, allowing said team members to sit in if they requested it. However, a year after I started, the CEO has incorporated HR into it for some reason, and now weighs their honest impartial opinions on the matter. It's driving me nuts even typing this. Commenter: so wait, the HR has a seat at the table regarding their opinion, but doesn't have the responsibility over policy and procedure execution or even following it. So is HR just in this company just the payroll department but for some reason gets treated like an executive OP? Spot on. Our HR department is just basically there to listen to employees complain, do bi-weekly payroll, and basically fulfill executive assistant duties. They don't even do their own recruiting or screening. We literally have to expense anywhere between $30K to $80K to hire a recruiting firm every time we want to hire new staff. Commenter: this is a clown company. You bluntly said your leadership is a mix of kiss-ass, senile, and incompetent. What are you still doing there? OP: protecting my team's interests. After I know they're taken care of, then I'll make my decision to dip. I feel like what I'm saying is green and too hopeful, but I at least want to keep my responsibility to them and do as much as I can for them before I leave. Commenter: leave and take everyone worth half a shit with you. OP: I have joked in the past with my finance manager, junior accountant and bookkeeper that I'll kidnap them and start our own firm. Maybe it's time to force that joke into reality. LOL. Update 2. I'd first like to say thanks to everyone in this sub for their genuine comments regarding the matter. I've worked in accounting for roughly 6-7 years thus far, but only 2-3 in a management controller position. This situation overall, and the feedback from multiple people, has honestly been an essential learning experience, so thank you. The CEO, CFO and I had a final meeting while working on Saturday. We sometimes work Sats with the OT pay, only until 11 a.m. so WH workers can catch up on orders. Basically, the CEO said he can't do $10K in a title promotion for someone who doesn't even have their BSA. CFO and I argued back saying she's more than qualified in accounting experience, and that I personally gauge her around the same level as a staff accountant. The CEO, pretty disgruntled, said he wouldn't do it and that a $4,000 raise was all he could do for her. And then he went with HR's retort and said, if she has that much potential, then me, can pay her that bonus. While I do think this is an overall win, I had a feeling my bookkeeper wouldn't be very happy with an 8% raise. Many people have voiced that my bookkeeper may be asking too much, but as her manager I truly do value her discipline, work ethic and development thus far. So on the drive home, I steeled myself to basically cut $6,000 of my bonus and provide it on top, so she can earn that $10K raise. Fast forward to today, I had a meeting with my bookkeeper in the morning and told her about the results of the review. She was definitely not happy, and grew even more disgruntled at the fact that I was giving her part of my bonus. Maybe I'm still too green, but I wanted to be honest with her. I was hoping that if I tell her that I'm willing to pay part of her bonus, she would feel that even if the company doesn't value her, that I still do. I guess it had the inverse effect on her, as she started crying and thought herself as even more of a burden. I told her that if she needed, she could take as much time as she wanted to think about the offer, and no matter her choice I'll support her. About 20 minutes after the meeting, she asked if we could have a follow-up meeting. Moment we get in, she bursts into tears again. She starts profusely apologizing for not meeting standards, that she felt like a burden, that she caused me so much trouble arguing with HR and CEO, and that she was formally quitting as of today. I tried to tell her that I do not blame her, nor think she is unqualified, because I meant it, to try and calm her down. I tried to diffuse the situation the best I could, by telling her I'm not giving up on her review and that I'm still pushing etc. But nada. She left as of about 20 minutes ago writing this post. Last thing she asked me was if I could help her update, revise her CV and if I could get in contact with my network connections, to which I told her of fucking course. I'm writing this on my early lunch break because I'm fucking shattered. I know I can only provide her some connections and maybe a great recommendation letter, but I genuinely feel like I let her down. This is a crushing defeat for me, and I'm pretty exhausted trying to cope with it as it's my first time in management dealing with this. I couldn't do it, guys, and it's the worst fucking gut feeling I've ever experienced in a long time. Relevant comments. Commenter: what else do you need to see to convince you that they don't give a fuck about you or anyone else? OP: may be seen as a stupid reason, but after today I feel like I need to really step up for my other two team members, junior, accountant and finance manager. Even if I leave, I want to at least secure them good reviews, or set up some sort of a safety net in my absence. Especially because now I know the CFO won't do jack squat for my team. The finance manager has more years than me, and the only reason he's below me is because he never decided to further his education. He's got a great head on his shoulders, and I imagine he can easily take up my position. Junior accountant is still learning, but he's a great guy. Same with the bookkeeper, hardworking, amazing work ethic, and strives to continue learning. So I'd like to at least secure him a promotion before I leave. Our company does reviews per employee very, very slowly. Commenter: that sucks. Sounds like you didn't fail anyone here. The leadership put you in a no-win position, and in doing so revealed how much they value you, your team, and your function as part of the business. The real question is, what is your next move? OP. I've never stared at my CV this long in my life. I'm contemplating leaving, but going to first entertain the idea by looking at job postings in the tri-state. And I appreciate the kind words, but this was a great learning opportunity for me. Albeit in hindsight, I'm extremely bitter about losing such a talented staff member. Commenter, open feedback. As a manager, you shouldn't have told that much. Being a manager is not simply being transparent to those around you, but more being transparent while filtering the noise, reformulating bad news. It's also about putting things into perspective, especially for new, young hires. You could have presented the 4K raise for the bookkeeper as a win with an incentive to have them get their degree. Here's already 4K and we can discuss compensation further once you get your degree. If you really insisted on getting her 10K while axing your own bonus, you should have never told her where it comes from. In essence, you guilt-tripped her. There was no reason to give her the full explanation in that case. From my perspective, you were too empathetic with your employee. Remember, they had already gotten a hefty raise after only a year or two within the company, and I remind everyone here they're only 25. Are yet to have a degree, and then you get her another 8% while her title or education hasn't evolved. You should have put things into perspective and rationalized the situation. Instead, you've pressured your employee into rethinking their career choice, and feeling guilty about getting a raise since you explicitly told her it comes at your cost. OP, I appreciate the feedback. I guess I did begin taking a more subjective stance on the situation, as I tend to pride myself in trying to be a good team manager. That's entirely fair criticism, and I can now see the value of how a white lie may have prevented me from guilt-tripping her. I intended it to be more of a "fuck the company, you're great to me" message, but I think I read her stance wrong. Thanks for the drill down, this is honestly great. Commenter, man OP, it sounds like the most crushing thing is the fact that she still feels like a burden and that you feel like you couldn't get across that no, she's not a burden, as evidenced by your willingness to give your own money to her to keep her around because you do value her so much. Am I pegging that right? Anyways, where are you located? I just started as an associate at a small public firm that's always looking for new staff, and in my limited 3 weeks LOL experience, they treat us right. I can refer her to the firm and see how it shakes out. OP, yeah, it's getting to me on a personal level even thinking about it. I plan on reaching out to her to have lunch or dinner at least once before she lands herself in a new gig. Entirely selfish, but I need to know she understands I never saw her as a burden, only a positive asset. She's smart, so she'll figure it out herself, but I want to make sure this incident doesn't permanently dent her ego. Commenter, do you have feelings for her? OP, haha, I can see why it may be taken that way. But I can soundly say I do not. This isn't a slight to her, as I think she's great both as a team member and as a person, but I'm already infatuated with my current SO. I just personally dislike it when people pour their heart out, and that's not reciprocated properly. As her ex-manager, I still feel like it's my responsibility to ensure her some closure on that front. Commenter, please update us with the CEO's reaction. Do they realize they might be losing you as well? OP, I'll try to make another post if I ever make a decision. I don't want to seem like I'm milking this situation for karma or something. The CFO at least knows I'm extremely pissed at this outcome, but the CEO probably doesn't even care or know. Update 3. I wasn't planning on making this post, but well over 200 plus people, thanks for flooding my inbox. We're asking for any major updates if they happen, so just sharing for people's peace of mind, I guess. Just a minor update on both the bookkeepers and my own statuses post-whole HR debacle. Thanks to everyone for the guidance and words of encouragement to bolster my steps. Bookkeeper and I had lunch on Wednesday last week to discuss her future plans. She's still pretty beat down by the situation, but guess she hasn't been dragging her feet since she asked me for a recommendation letter, plus to be a reference for a couple gigs. She still plans on furthering her education, whether or not an opportunity arises, so at least she's still encouraged to continue her accounting career. On Saturday, I got a text from her saying she was able to land a gig at a small, family-owned firm as a staff accountant near Delaware. Starting wage is $58K, 4% match, and a bunch of other benefits, so she got herself into a very good opportunity. I told her that as long as she applies herself the same way she did her previous experience, she'll do great and wished her the best of luck. She still plans on continuing communication, sort of as a mentor-mentee relationship, and I told her I'd be glad to. As for myself, I finished reviews for my remaining team members and quit as of last Friday. I wanted to make sure my team was well taken care of, so that my exit wouldn't leave too much of a gap in work for them. Managed to get my junior accountant promoted to accountant plus a 10% raise, so pretty glad I got to do one thing right there. To no one's surprise, the CEO and CFO were blindsided and tried to retain me in a panic on Friday when I was packing my stuff. Pretty much forced me into a meeting, offered me $24K, 8 more days of PTO, and let me WFH on Fridays, even though that's not really a perk for me. As much as I would have loved to have lived everyone's quitting fantasy here, I just simply left it as this summarized. If they truly valued me, as well the efforts I've made to improve this company, they would have listened to me at the start instead of scrambling like idiots last second. I left, and then the CFO sent me one massive text, not even a call. Basically begging me to come back LOL. I just ghosted him because he's pretty useless in terms of connections. I have no plans to job search at the moment and may be thinking about enjoying a couple weeks to myself before I continue my career. I have notified some of my connections that I'm free, and already being headhunted, so I'm fairly confident I can enter a gig when I need to. Pretty grateful for that, honestly. Been enjoying my Monday thus far at home, finally catching up on the boys and 3-body problem. I personally think this is a win-win for both the bookkeeper and myself, but thank you everyone for the advice. I've also been curious about other fields in accounting. I've done PA at B4, worked at local firms, and an industry S-Corp gig. So if anyone has any recommendations to explore, I'd be down to explore them too. Relevant comment. The HR manager sent me 4 emails regarding updated offers. I know in the post I mentioned only the final offer they gave me, but it was originally much lower LOL. First offer was just a $8K bonus on top of my current bonus LOL, which is not much. Second and third offers were minor add-ons. So they were still cheaping out on me until the very end. As for any personal reactions, nada. Guess the HR manager is too egoistic to admit they've screwed the pooch on this one. I told my finance manager to keep me posted if the HR manager gets any reprimand from this, haha. Am I the A for getting upset with my wife for secretly having an abortion after I clearly stated I didn't want children? I have been happily married to my wife, Clara, for around 3 years now. I love this woman to pieces. I don't want to get sentimental, but she truly is my other half and I cannot see myself with another woman, even now. Before we got married, I made my stance on children clear. I didn't want any. She agreed at the moment and I thought that was that. About 1.5 years into our marriage, she brings up the question of children again. She asks me if I want kids, I say no, I don't. She hums and we go back to doing what we did before. It wasn't a conversation so much as it was an odd question this time around, but I didn't think anything of it. We had a very robust sex life but always took the necessary precautions. She has the implant and I use a condom around 90% of the time, so I wasn't worried. Her bookshelf recently broke, so I ordered a new one. I had wanted to build it as a surprise and put her books up on it for when she came home. While going through them, I noticed an old journal of hers. I immediately smiled and flipped through it. When we were in college, she'd carry it around. It was a future planning notebook or sorts. If she wanted something in life, she'd draw out exactly what she envisioned, add clip-ins, the whole 9 yards. Manifestation, if you will. She had shown me it in college after declaring that she wanted to pursue her doctorate, and I remember being stunned at the attention to detail. I mean, we were only sophomores and she knew exactly what she wanted to do, what she wanted to study and where she would take herself. It made me feel out of depth. I liked it. Anyway, I flipped through the journal, reminiscing about the past. I hadn't expected there to be any new entries, at least not anything recent that I hadn't experienced with her. But as I opened it up, I saw something I never thought I'd see. It was a section dedicated to pregnancy and baby prep. She had researched prenatal vitamins, OB-GYNs in our area, had images of cradles, etc. It was only 2 pages, but I remember feeling so sick. In my head, there was only one reason she'd put that in a journal like this. She wanted kids. Naturally, I was torn up. I kept telling myself I'd been upfront about what I wanted and if she hadn't, that was her fault. But the thought that she'd secretly been suffering because of me, that she was holding herself back from the life she wanted to please me, I couldn't stand it. I confronted her about it as soon as we came home and I found out the situation was a lot worse than I thought. Clara did indeed want kids, but claimed she wanted our relationship more and was okay with compromise. I asked her 1,000,000 times if she was sure. I really wanted her to be honest and not feel like she had to hold anything back. She insisted that not having children wasn't a deal breaker for her, but I kept pushing. I couldn't understand why she'd put something that wasn't that important to her in that journal. In the midst of our conversation, she dropped the bomb. She told me she had an abortion a year and a half ago. Offered up the information like I should have been relieved. Like it was the proof she needed to convince me that she meant what she had said about children not being a deal breaker. I can't describe what I felt at that moment. What I'm still feeling. What I can say is that I have never blown up at my wife the way I did that night. I didn't put my hands on her. I would never put my hands on her, but it was not a pretty exchange. I just remember feeling hurt that she hadn't consulted me on such an important decision. That she went and had such a life-altering procedure without discussing it with me. That I didn't even fucking notice that it happened. I mean, those things have side effects, right? She would have been bedridden for days afterwards, in physical and emotional pain. How could I not have seen the signs? I'm still beating myself up about it. I remember her asking me if I wanted kids, but nothing about her emotional state for the rest of that week when she would have had the procedure done. How much can I really claim to care about her? I don't want children, I still don't. But I'd rather chew my left arm off than make her have an abortion, even more so now after she's told me she isn't really against having kids the way I am. I'd happily raise a kid if it meant she didn't need to go through something so drastic. I've been staying with my sister for the last week and a half. I needed space to think, so I left. I want to see her, to ask if she's okay, but I don't know what to do or say. I'm still unbelievably angry at her and at myself. I don't want to yell at her again. I think the first time around scared her pretty badly and I don't want to repeat that. My sister thinks I'm being petty, punishing my wife for something I would have agreed with regardless. But I wouldn't have fucking agreed. I don't know. Relevant comments. OP on not considering of prioritizing his wife's preferences when she is prioritizing his decisions. Comment 1. OP. To clarify, I never once said this. If that's how my post came across, let me clear it up. If she came to me as asked to start trying for a kid, in other words, to go off birth control and stop using condoms, my answer would be no. I've always been firm in that. She's never pushed the issue, but no amount of begging would entice me to plan to have a child. Having an unplanned child, on the other hand, wasn't something we discussed. Obviously, hindsight is 20/20, but that doesn't help much here. Update. I woke up to lots amount of comments and outright hate, so I thought I'd clear a few things up. A lot of you were concerned about me snoping in Clara's journal. I met this woman when I was 6 years old. We had experienced over half of what she had written down in that notebook together. She's been letting me read her entries routinely since college, though I would read them more often back then. Like I said, I found her decisiveness incredibly attractive. But college was 6-7 years ago and times have changed. I'm not sure if she has other journals, but her use of this specific one died down as we got older, and so did my readership. I felt no qualms about picking it up and reading it that day because I quite frankly never have. This was not the first time I read that journal without her present, as I've been given express permission to do so. It was meant to be a quick trip down memory lane. I had no idea she had added more things, let alone pregnancy planning. She keeps all her old journals, sketchbooks, etc., in the same area, and this book was in that pile. You should have gotten a vasectomy. I'm not discussing my reasons for not wanting kids here, but I did discuss them thoroughly with Clara before we got married. Our reasons for not wanting children were very similar based on that initial conversation, but I guess hers wavered as time went on. How that turned me into an evil dictator that refused to hear her opinions out, I'll never understand. But I guess that's Reddit for you? I didn't get a vasectomy because I'm not sure that I won't want kids 10-15 years down the line. I am positive I don't want them at the current moment, but I'm 27. Opinions and circumstances change. Regardless of its reversibility, it's marketed as a permanent surgery. Vasectomies are covered by my health insurance, but reversals are not. It simply made no sense to invest in something I wasn't sure could be undone if I didn't want it anymore, not when Clara and I were taking the necessary precautions to avoid pregnancy otherwise. She got on birth control way before we started having sex. I had absolutely nothing to do with that decision. As far as I know, she's quite happy with it. The chances of pregnancy with the implant are less than 1%, even less when using condoms as well. We talked about the decision together and ultimately decided a vasectomy wasn't the right choice. Someone actually went as far as to say that because I didn't get my vas deferens cinched, an unexpected pregnancy was inevitable. A 0.5% chance and inevitable are two vastly different things. You guys do realize that vasectomies aren't 100% effective either, right? Unless you're pushing for abstinence, I really don't want to hear it. We also don't go raw unless we both agree to it, which I would never pressure her to do. You verbally abused her. Clara and I both grew up in shitty homes. Our parents yelled and were extremely combative. After growing up in that environment, We agreed to avoid that kind of behavior in our relationship, and we do our best to keep to that. I have never raised my voice at her before this argument. I'm more on the timid side, so I imagine it was a shock for her to see me so angry. She also just doesn't do well with yelling in general. It wasn't my words, so much as it was my tone. Should I have raised my voice? No, but I'm not an infallible robot. My comment about not putting my hands on her was to draw conclusions away from physical violence. Clearly it wasn't taken that way and had the opposite effect. The exchange was heated on both sides, lots of things were said. It was the worst disagreement we have ever had, and we have been together for close to a decade, close friends for even longer. That being said, I still think it was on the tamer side of the overall spectrum, relative to other people. That spectrum might be a bit skewed due to my childhood, but take that as you will. You're a dick for leaving her for a week and a half. To be fully clear, this was a mutually respected decision. I told her I needed space to think. She suggested I take it outside the house. Granted, she wasn't the happiest when she said it, but we had just finished a heated argument. We texted the entire time I was at my sister's place. Very dull and mundane conversation, mostly pleasantries, but I didn't just abandon her. We weren't speaking audibly, but we weren't in contact. I don't know how else to phrase that. Things were just tense and very different from our usual level of interaction. Everything was surface level. We would check to make sure the other ate, showered, whatever else, but that was it. There was no continuation of our discussion while we were apart. We were both taking the time to make sure we were in the right headspace to have a proper conversation, as is common for our relationship. It just took me a bit longer to get there. She wouldn't have been bedridden. Abortions aren't that deep. I'll concede to the physical aspect of this. I've often heard them described as a bad period, and a lot of the women in my life tend to tap out during their monthlies, which is what I based my assumption on. I accept that it was incorrect. Though I'm not sure if I should, because half of you agreed with my take in the post, condemning me for not noticing, and the other half told me I was overreacting. Again, I guess that's Reddit for you. More importantly, I will not agree on the general take on the emotional aspect. At the time, I still did not believe Clara genuinely wanted to have an abortion after hearing her updated stance on having kids. I imagined her feelings would be on par with someone who experienced a miscarriage rather than an abortion because of this. I still do. The only thing that would change my mind at this point is Clara herself. You should go to couples counseling and seek therapy individually. We are both in different types of talk therapy and have been for several years. I'm not sure how helpful couples therapy would be on top of that, but I'm not opposed to it. Asking if you wanted kids was enough. She doesn't owe you anything. Reading through the comments, many of you thought this, and we're simply going to have to disagree. As the father of the child, the decision to abort should not have been made without my clear and explicit knowledge that she was pregnant. We weren't separated at the time, nor did I cheat, and contrary to popular belief, I'm not abusive. I deserve to know. I won't apologize for expecting my wife to consult me on family planning decisions. I'd do the same for her 10 times over if roles were reversed. Call it controlling. I really don't care. Asking if I want kids is a completely different discussion than terminating a pregnancy. I am on my way home now and will update if the situation changes, likely sometime this week. I'd ask for well wishes, but I think it's clear none of you are rooting in my favor. Fucking hell. Edit. Took out the numbers to prevent text from looking long and blocky. Final update. Before I got into where Clara and I are now, a lot of you had some misconceptions concerning things like me reading Clara's journal, vasectomies, and other things. I made a separate post addressing those. Read it, don't, whatever. I came home the morning following my initial post and Clara and I had a very long conversation. We both apologized for letting the previous conversation get out of hand and acting out of character. I also explained why I left in the first place and apologized for raising my voice. She's especially sensitive to that kind of thing, so I addressed it first. She forgave me and said as long as we could keep things calm this time around it would be okay. She was more interested in finding out what I was so deep in thought about that I was gone for so long. Again, we do take breaks from conflicts from time to time and revisit them when we're calmer, though this was the first one where I physically removed myself from her proximity. I told her how I initially felt after reading her journal entry. I hadn't been mad then. Part of me was confused. We had agreed on no kids before getting married after all. The other half was riddled with anxiety. Contrary to what you may all think, I adore Clara. She is quite honestly one of only good things this life has given me. I didn't want to lose her, but if she wanted kids badly enough to put them in her journal, I wasn't sure what that would mean for us. She downplayed the importance of the entry. In her view, Not everything she puts into the journal is something she's genuinely hoping for. Some things are just nice to fantasize about, and not every fantasy is meant to be reality. I was honest. I told her that her words were hard to believe given how meticulously she had written everything down and planned it out. The last thing I wanted was for her to harbor resentment over what her life could have been. She assured me that wasn't the case, but I'm still unsure. Talking about the abortion itself was hard on both of us. I wanted to know if she was in pain, what signs I had missed. I didn't really press for details on the procedure, but we talked a lot about how she felt afterwards, why she hid it, and how she came to her decision. I just held her in my arms and listened for the most part. It was gut-wrenching to say the least. It turns out that the second time she had asked if I wanted kids occurred a month or two after she had already had the procedure done. She had asked because she was contemplating whether or not to tell me about it. I guess she had ultimately decided not to. She told me I was actually with her the day she took the pills. I remembered the day because she had been crying and I wasn't sure why. When I asked, she cited cramps, so I got her a heating pad and laid down with her. Her periods have always been pretty hard on her, so I guess I didn't think much of it. In hindsight, I should have realized something was up because she hasn't had bad cramps in years. Still, I'm glad she didn't go through it completely alone. Much later that day, I asked her why she didn't come to me when she realized she was pregnant. In her eyes, she was protecting our relationship. She knows our circumstances, my reasons for not wanting kids, my stance on abortion. She didn't want to burden me with having to choose between the two, and so she made the choice herself. As hard as I try, I can't understand or accept her reasoning. Her decision to go through this alone, while meant to shield me, inadvertently communicated that she doesn't trust me to support her or handle the truth. All I understood is that she feels like she can't lean on me when she's in trouble. And if that's the case, I'm not sure why we're married. She's always been independent, but this is the first time I've felt completely blindsided by not being included. I asked up and down if I'd given her a reason to doubt me, to doubt my commitment to her. If she felt I wasn't a reliable partner, etc. She said no, but that just makes all this harder to grasp. She said she was afraid saying anything would change how I viewed her, our relationship, but I'm having a hard time distinguishing insecurity, anxiety from reasonable doubt. I asked her if she knew I loved her, how much I care for her, the lengths I would go to make her happy, etc. She laughed a little and reminded me of a line from my wedding vows. We shared private vows before our ceremony, and I had said quite a bit. I was a little shocked that she remembered that portion at all, let alone word for word. We transitioned to talking about the promises we made to one another, and just times in our relationship where we had complete trust, faith in one another. It helped put us both in better moods and ended the night on a lighter note for both of us. We're doing okay at the moment. Not quite where we were before, but getting there. Everything's still incredibly raw, including our eyes. We both broke down 5 minutes into the conversation. Clara is against couples counseling right now. I'm ambivalent, as we're still working a couple of things out on our own. I'm not sure how helpful a third party asking what steps we're willing to take to improve trust and transparency will really be, but I'm open to anything at this point. We're not leaving one another. Issues or not, we both think it's clear that there's still an abundance of love between us, and we don't want to throw that away. Some of you will be happy to know that Clara and I decided on a new rule for ourselves. Clara was a lot more upset about my leaving than she initially let on. From now on, the distance between the top and bottom floors of our home is all the space either of us are allowed to take. We need to cool our heads. If proximity really does become an issue, the max either of us are allowed to stay outside the house is 48 hours. So no more week-long stays at my sister's. I faced police calls due to a classmate's misunderstanding about my bruises. Now, she must change classes and face the consequences. I, 19, am in a nursing program. We do a lot of physical exams on each other to practice, which involves wearing shorts and tanks. It's important to mention that I am permanently blind in one eye. I'm constantly running into walls, doors, railings, plants, people, animals, everything. As you can guess, I'm covered in bruises 90% of the time, on my blind side. In the course one day we were talking about signs of abuse and the teacher said constant bruising. I raised my hand and added that it's important to talk to the patient if they're an adult, before calling the police, as it could be something else. She asked for an example, so I rolled up my sleeve and explained that the bruises were from door handles of the school, which were varying colors and heights. She nodded and agreed. She said that with children, we call the authorities the moment we suspect abuse. With adults, we first attempt to talk to them, and if their reason seems valid, we don't call. The lessons continued, and about a week later, the cops showed up at my door. They told me they had received a report that I was being physically abused and always covered in bruises. I explained my disability to them. They checked my home, talked to my family, and found no further signs of abuse. When I asked questions, they told me they got my address from the university because they take abuse seriously here. When they talked to the university about me, the university was very concerned and just wanted to help me. After the police left, I talked to some people at the university, including a psychologist, just so they could be sure I had no mental signs of abuse. Then life went on. Well, I was still coming in bruises every day, and one of my classmates came up to me. She told me our classmate Kay was telling people she was thinking about calling the police again because I'm still covered in bruises. I got my classmate's report written down, alongside a few others, and waited. Sure enough, police showed up again. Same song and dance, but this time I told the university that Kay was using the police to harass me and I wanted something done about it. The university decided the best course of action was to move her from my labs to the other ones so she couldn't see whether I was bruised or not. She's now told me I'm an asshole and that she was just trying to help me and I didn't need to mess up her whole university schedule. Relevant comments. Deleted user. She really didn't learn the lesson the class was taught, did she? A lesson she needs to understand if she's going to work in this job. If she'd done what the teacher taught, talked to the adult, then none of this would have happened. She brought this on herself. Comment 1. She was harassing you by carrying on calling the police. Once can definitely be out of concern, but after everything was checked out and you were safe, she decided to continue, so it's totally on her. OP, I was fine with the once, it's okay, people make mistakes, but after the second time I wanted to make sure it'd stop. Comment 2, I'm not blind in either eye and I'm also always bruised. My legs and sides always have a big purple knot somewhere. It's a daily occurrence. Multiple doctors have said it's not a medical issue. I just have terrible spatial awareness for where my body is. I run into door handles, my work desk, and counters. I get my clothes caught on stuff all the time. It's entirely my own lack of attention and clumsiness. Comment 3, Kay knew about your disability and literally learned in class about talking with the patient before reporting. Additionally, Kay could be a serious danger to her patients if she did this with a DV case. The abuser may escalate when confronted by police, which can create a dangerous and potentially deadly situation. Comment 4, Kay found out the consequences of 1. Not believing you, and 2. Not minding her own business. She needs to learn to rein that in or she's not going to keep a job as a nurse with assumption-making skills like that. Comment 5, genuine question. How do you get bruised almost every day? Do you have low sight in your other eye as well? Do you wear eyeglasses? I'm blind in one eye as well, by birth. I'm short-sighted, but I rarely get bruised running into things. I usually sprain my ankle due to not noticing unlevel ground or hit my toe on the wall corners due to blind spots once or twice a year, but the peripheral vision and the angle at which I turn my head to keep my eye at center is more than enough to not bump into things so frequently. OP, I'm nearsighted in the other eye. Stuff on my left side is just impossible to see. Glasses get in the way of some of my peripheral vision. Keeping my head turned too long causes stiffness in my neck and I have to be able to turn my head fast and quick. As I said, well, I get bruised a lot. It doesn't interfere with my job. It's something I've grown up with. And I bruise easily. I don't bump into anything at home, but in the outside world I do. Comment 6, I ask this as a nurse, and I mean no disrespect, but are you sure that nursing is the best field for you given that impairment? OP, yes, I love helping people, and I'm fully capable of the job. I'm the only one who ever gets injured in my daily life, lol. And it's typically because I'm not paying enough attention to my surroundings and don't notice something new and trip on it. Update 1. Okay, so, I'm blind in one eye, I run into random stuff if I'm not paying enough attention, I'm covered in various bruises, showed this during class while talking about abuse and how we have to talk to adults before calling. Girl decided to call the cops on me twice claiming I'm abused, resulting in me forced to go to counseling, talk to therapists, police, etc. until everyone was assured I wasn't abused. So anyways, it's been a bit since that post and I have big updates on her. I called her Kay in the other story, so let's stick with that. So anyways, I had previously gotten her removed from my labs. We still shared class, not lab. I figured everything was fine now and she'd leave me alone, but I was wrong. Not only was she spreading rumors that I was abused, but she called the cops again, apparently more than once, as the other 2 times the cops said they had a report of abuse. This time they said reports. When I asked how many reports, they said that it was multiple people. So I don't know if others in class called or she had her family do so. I just don't know. They couldn't tell me who called due to privacy when it comes to reporting, to try and make sure abusers don't attack the reporters. Apparently my university had attempted to stop them when the cops spoke to them, but the cops had to check anyways, so they came after talking to the university anyways, and again we did the same song and dance. I told them I felt like someone was using the cops to harass me. And the cops took this. They said no one would show up again. And anyone that calls would now have their name taken down, and if they call after being told not to, they'd be charged with harassment. Well, that was about a week ago, and someone continued calling, tried to claim a different name, didn't realize they record phone numbers as well. So there's your update on Kay. She called again, and again, and again until it got her charged with harassment as well as misuse of police resources. Not certain what's gonna happen going forward or if I'll be called to testify. I'm not certain what's happening, but I haven't seen her since I was informed that she's still called, which I found out from another classmate. Relevant comments. Deleted user. What's the school doing about this? Is she getting expelled for harassing you? OP, seeing as she's probably ending up with a criminal charge, she will be expelled. Comment 1. You're not just protecting yourself. You're protecting the patients she might have had in the future. She's got big issues. Comment 2. This really pisses me off. My toddler has von Willebrand disease, so her blood doesn't work the way it should. She is so covered in bruises all the time that she looks like a Dalmatian. She also has paper-thin skin, so she has many cuts in a day. One day she even got the corner of her eye open from the corner of a pillow. Last summer we got a call from the CPS. Someone called them that we are beating our child and that they have seen it. This is not true. And if you really saw a parent beating their 1-5-year-old child, wouldn't you stop it when it was happening? Not called a week later. Best part was that we weren't even in the country when the beating took place. Someone was just mad because we have been renovating our house and the noise was too much for them. Pure harassment. Comment 3. I read your other post and was glad to find this update. While I agree Kay is definitely in the wrong and needs to have the consequences of her actions. Hopefully not being a nurse is one of them, since she seems unfit for it. I really came here because I was so upset about how people were saying you shouldn't be a nurse because you are blind in one eye. My brother is blind in one eye. Actually, he has had a prosthetic eye since he was a kid. He has been a nurse for more than 30 years. ER nurse, cardiac surgery nurse, trauma unit. He's done it all while having no sight on one side. People that say you can't be a nurse need to F off. They are narrow-minded AHs. Also, my brother rides a motorcycle and has done since he was a teen. Do what makes you happy and F all the rest of them. Good luck on your career. Update 2. I don't know exactly where to start with this post, but I kinda want to give this update because I'm hoping it's the last one. So I made my last post only 12 days ago and shit kinda went down. Now, I need to explain that quite a bit of this is secondhand, because I luckily avoided the crazies. So basically, Kay does not know where I live, knows the general town, but nothing else. I did invite one girl in our class to my house to work on a project. She was the only person other than the university that knows where I live. Kay knows this, because her and girl who Emma call Lily, are kinda not related. Lily's cousin is married to Kay's cousin, so they knew each other prior to the program but not really well, and Lily is also the one that told me about Kay still calling even after the police promised me they would not show up again, which they haven't. They just started taking down the numbers and keeping track of who called, when, and did they call after being told not to. So basically, Kay knew me and Lily were paired up for the project, knew Lily came to my house, did not know where the house was, or what it looked like, just that it was in a town X kilometers away from where they were. They also knew the town name via Lily's mom, so I got warned by Lily that Kay's mom was going to try to find me to get me to drop Kay's charges. I'm not the one charging her. The police are. I have not pressed any charges despite some people saying I should get a restraining order. Lily warned me, and I hid in my house and did not leave until Lily told me that Kay's mom had returned home. Kay's mom then proceeded to harass Lily in an attempt to get Lily to give Kay's mom my address so she could knock on my door instead of driving around aimlessly hoping to spot me. Lily refused, and deleted all text between me and her to ensure that even if Kay's mom stole her phone, and somehow got past the password, that she would never get my address. Lily then informed the university of the situation, and had proof via text, that the university had her print off and give to them, and the police. The university's security are now watching for Kay's mom's car, and Kay's mom. Security is informed that if and when I'm at school they are to escort me to and from my car. My car is also to be parked near cameras, by order of the university, until the situation dies down. Luckily I'm at clinicals and not anywhere near the university. Kay was kicked out before clinicals, so has no idea which clinics the students are at, or which I'm at. Had she stayed in longer, she'd have a literal list posted to the class page, about where I'm at, and where in the building I'm at. Kay's family apparently was informed by the police that any attempts to contact me would be harassment, so says Lily. Can't guarantee, but yeah. I kinda don't know how to feel. The next time I have to go to the uni is for exams in like 3 weeks, So hopefully Kay's family doesn't hold on to this that long. Until then I'm safe in a building filled with security, locked doors, and places to run. The placement was also informed about this situation and with pictures from Lily, who's at a different placement, are watching for Kay's family, and has banned them from the premise in advance. So yeah, if this goes no further I won't update anymore, but if it gets worse I guess I'll update after my exams and the HSI. Wish me luck because I'm gonna try to not stress too much about the Kay situation and focus on my finals and HSI, instead of that, but don't know how that go. Hope y'all are enjoying my mild suffering and it entertains you, even if only a bit, so that some good can come from this situation I can't believe I'm in right now. So, yeah, thanks again for the words of encouragement and kindness some of you showed me during this insanity. Wish Lily some luck as she's being bombarded by her family to give Kay's mom my address, phone number, etc. And doing her best to hold out on this while making sure her phone is never out of her sight on the off chance she leaves it open. Anyways, hopefully this is goodbye. If not, well, I'll see y'all in 3 weeks for another update. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I don't understand why there is so much drama from Kay and her family. Like what the heck is happening that they feel the need to harass you? Have you presented a restraining order? OP. Hi, I still don't feel a restraining order necessary as they really only keep people willing to listen away, and that's not really the case here. I plan to just avoid it, the police and courts handle it and forget it ever happened. Comment 2. This is going too far. What's wrong with that woman? And has her whole family gone insane? Not only are they harassing you but they're putting your family in danger. She's basically accusing them of abuse. It could damage their reputation but also put their job on the line depending on their fields. It's good that they are providing you with security but it's still not enough. Lily won't possibly be able to warn you every time that woman goes out of her house. In case she eventually finds your house and comes to threaten you, you should probably get cameras for your door to record everything. When you say she was kicked out, do you mean the school? Because I really hope your university realized how unhinged Kay's behavior has been and how unfit she is to start a career in this field. Not only does she lack common sense but she's also acting in a deranged manner. Targeting someone like that is not acceptable, especially not under the fake pretense of trying to help. Had you really been a victim of abuse, you would have probably been even more traumatized by this situation. OP. Hi, so yes my house has cameras already, and Kay has been removed from school due to pending charges and should they fully go through she will never come back. Her access to everything has been suspended and she's basically already expelled. They are just awaiting charges to go through before they actually push the expulsion through. My girlfriend asked for an open, poly relationship. I said no, and now she's acting strange. What should I do? My girlfriend, 28, and I, 26, have been in a relationship for 3 years and a few months now, but not long ago she started sliding in hints before telling me that she wants to try an open or poly relationship. She asked about this before at the start of our relationship and I thought that I made it clear that I was monogamous and not interested in that. Now she's asking again and saying how we could both even share a girlfriend or we could be open and hook up with whomever. I told her no and asked her why she was pushing this again. She said that it could be a way to spice up our sex life and I said something like, okay, well I'm not into that, you know that. So no go. She got agitated and said to just try it, which pissed me off and again said no. This conversation happened a little over 2 weeks ago and she still seems to be pissed off about it, not really talking to me and sleeping in the guest room. I've tried to get her to talk to me about it but she just brushes me off and says that it's not important anymore. I've been venting to friends about it and a few of my friends brought up that maybe she's already cheated or is cheating and is trying to cover it up, or maybe she has someone in mind that she wants to bang. I doubted it at first but now I wonder because she has been a little more distant and just overall off, even before the whole open relationship talk. We haven't been having sex as often as we used to but I chalk that up to it being because of my hectic work schedule. I'm not sure what to do. I'm afraid that if I start digging that I won't like what I find. Edit. I'm going to either snoop on her phone or confront her about it. I love her but I also don't want to be played with. If she's hiding something I will find out. From the comments. Comment 1. If you're afraid to dig because you don't like what you'll find, well, that's understandable. I would be too, but it's no good way to live. OP replies, true. I've been debating if I could sneak her phone really quick. Comment 2. She's either already having sex with someone else or has someone she wants to. Did you know she was bi before you started dating? OP replies, I'm bi and she's lesbian, or as much as I know. She said that she dated a boy in middle and high school but started dating girls in late high school, if my memory serves me right. Update, it's super late but I'm numb, sobering up and just can't fucking sleep. This fucking sucks, but I need to get this off my chest and out my head. So a few days ago I posted about how my GF of 3 years asked me for an open relationship or to try a poly relationship. I actually got to sit her down to talk the next day after posting about it and asked her why she brought it up again. She asked in the past, in the beginning of our relationship, after dating for so long. She repeated that she just wanted to spice up our love life, and I asked her, how would that spice things up though? The only one who's gonna find it sexy is you, because you know that I'm not into that. She said something about how I should be open-minded about it because so many people wish they had a partner like her that would be okay with them screwing other people. I said, yeah, if they were into that then I'd get that. After a little more back and forth and talking in circles, I just said, listen, if you want to screw someone else then just say that. However, we'll be over. I love you, but if you want this then you should go be with someone that would give you what you want, cause I can't. I thought that she'd be a little remorseful or apologize or anything but what she told me. I assume she thought that I just broke up with her because she just got pissed and screamed out, oh so we're over? Fine. I've been screwing her guy friend. Anyways, and I'm pregnant. Yeah, my lesbian GF is fucking pregnant by a fucking friend of ours. My hands are shaking just thinking about this again. I tried to hold it together but I just couldn't, and I tried to kick her out but she wouldn't leave, so I left for a friend's place and have been here over the weekend. My now ex kept calling me but I only answered and told her to get her shit together and move out and go live with the douchebag, who I deleted and blocked because I would lose my shit on him at that time, then turned off my phone. I turned my phone back on this morning and my ex left messages. I called her, to get closure if anything, and asked her how long. She said since December when I went out of town. I asked if they fucked in my bed and she said yes. I asked if this was the reason for the open relationship BS and she again said yes. Lastly, I asked if she was planning to keep the baby and still stay with me, and she said yes. I just hung up. I've deleted and blocked her on everything for now because I just need to distance myself right now. I'm gonna see if I can break my lease on the APT we shared, because now that I know that they've been fooling around in there, I don't want it anymore. For now though, I'm just chilling at my friend's and will probably be here until I can get out of my lease. I have no more tears left. I can't tell if I'm in shock or emotionally broken. I took some time off work but I don't know how I'll ever get back to normal after this. Thanks for the advice from my previous post. I'ma try to get some sleep now. From the comments, OOP is advised to get tested and change her passwords, etc. In addition, the question of how the baby was supposed to fit into a lesbian relationship is brought up several times. Comment 1, geez. She's a terrible person and you did the right thing pushing the issue. And I'm amazed and shocked that she thought you were going to be okay raising someone's baby. I'm so sorry you're going through this. OOP replies. Thing is that I love kids and she knows that. If, and a huge if, this was an accidental pregnancy due to us being open, I probably would have stayed. It's definitely different in this case, obviously. I still can't get over how freaking ridiculous this is. I honestly wish it was a joke. Comment 2A. I mean, what was the plan here? Surprise. I'm pregnant. Like, how did she think she was going to explain that one without outing herself as a cheater? Comment 2B. I guess the plan was let's be poly. Whoops, got pregnant but you agreed to being poly so you cannot be mad at me. OOP replies, honestly that's the only thing that makes sense to me. It was a dumb idea but I guess it would have worked in her head. Comment 3. You might want to get a lawyer and research how child support works in your circumstance. The last thing you want to do is pay for this child. OOP replies, yeah, I'm safe unless I magically started making sperm and grew a member. This actually made me laugh a little because she kinda tried to make me a baby daddy. Laugh to keep from crying, as they say. New update. OP updates on her profile the 16th of August 2022, 1 month later. So first things first, thank you all for your support and advice. I really appreciate it. The good news, that night I posted my last update, I definitely wasn't in a good headspace, but I allowed myself to grieve for a few days then got right to work. I went and got tested and I'm clean, no HIV or STDs, thank God. I went to my landlord and I told her the situation as well as had a formal letter typed up just in case. She's always been a nice lady and was kind enough to offer me a cheaper apartment that I could move into easily if I wanted to, but I decided to just move out of this complex. So I'll need to pay this month's rent. My ex won't pay her half, so then my part of the lease will be officially broken. I don't know, or care to know, if my ex will break or take over the lease, but that's on her. I've already got a place lined up and will be rooming with another close friend of mine. Bad news, it was about a day after I posted my last update that my ex just showed up to the friend's house that I was staying at. I don't know how she found out, but we do have a pocket full of friends so it's not that hard. I was under the influence and numb and didn't want to see her, but she kept pushing it and refused to leave. At first I came out and told her that we should talk outside, then I closed the door behind her. She still refused to leave, so I stepped outside to talk to her, or she talked and I just stared at her. She started with apologizing and trying to put the blame on me being busy all the time, which, yeah, I was working a lot, but every free time I had was spent with her. Then she said we weren't having enough sex, then saying that the sex meant nothing with the guy, and then somehow it took a turn to her saying that now we could start a family without a paid donor. I just remember going off on her and calling her out for screwing the guy repeatedly and then trying to cover it up with some bullshit. She started crying and yelling back, but I told her to just go back to a baby daddy and tried to go back inside, but she pulled on my shirt trying to stop me and I sorta pulled away hard to get away. About a day after that, my friend told me that she posted about how she left me for being abusive and that it drove her into the arms of the father of her baby, along with pics of them together apparently. The douchebag even tried to back her up on that bullshit, but almost every mutual friend of ours knew what really happened by then and they absolutely blasted her until she took the post down. Goodbye and good fucking riddance to both of them. I only feel bad that the baby will have such immature parents. Other than that, I'll probably take some time to get away after settling down in my new place. I'm not gonna hold on to that pain anymore. I did love her with all my heart and thought she was my forever, but she betrayed me in a way that I could never imagine. She knew about my past relationship and promised to never hurt me the way my ex did. I guess she didn't lie about that since that ex never cheated on me, lied and manipulated, sure. I'm taking a break from love right now. Maybe I'll get a pet to start my healing journey from here. I found out that my mother and my fiancé had been having sex for the past few years, leading up to the birth of my younger brother. My fiancé, 25, and myself, 24, have been together since we were 17-18 years old. Honestly, he was always kind, handsome, funny, and everyone used to say I was so lucky to have the whole package. I felt so lucky too. He always treated me with love and respect, so this makes everything just so shocking for me. I have always had a good relationship with my mom. It has always been her and I against the world. My dad died in an accident when I was little. We always joke that we are the real-life Rory and Lorelai from Gilmore Girls. My mom dated guys on and off and they were usually cool, but nothing really past the early stages. Around 4 years ago my mom told me she was pregnant, which was a huge surprise. My mom was around 42 years old and although she was sort of dating someone recently, didn't meet the guy but knew she went on dates, it still was a big shock. She never thought she could be pregnant at her age. She had me when she was super young, an oopsie, and I can tell she was stressed and worried. I decided to support her, since she has always supported me, and tried to reassure her. She then had my brother, who is now 3 years old. I have a close relationship with my brother. I have helped take care of him since he was born and I just love the little guy. My fiancé was also always helpful with my brother. We would take him out for ice cream, playground, pool time during summer, etc. But nothing was weird. He was just my then BF spending time with my brother and I. Now to how I found out. My fiancé and I have been living together since we finished college. He was not at home because he was hanging out with friends, but I stayed home because I didn't feel like going out and just wanted to relax on the sofa. At some point during binge watching a series on Netflix, my laptop died, and I was too lazy to get my charger, so I used my fiancé's iPad instead. I know the password but had never used it before. The iPad logged in, and I received a bunch of message notifications. I guess he hasn't used it in a while either. Anyway, this got my attention, and I went to check it out, and of course, I found everything. My mom's number wasn't saved under her name, but I recognized it and verified it with my phone. She was telling him she felt guilty and that I should know. He said he also felt guilty but couldn't lose me and that they messed it up. She said it was unfair for my brother to never know his dad and asked if he could live having his son around, not behaving like a dad but as a brother-in-law. I broke down. What the actual F? There weren't a lot of older messages, just some photos stored of my brother as a newborn, my mom pregnant, and more photos of my brother growing up in an album. I couldn't anymore. I cried for what seemed like ages and I waited for my BF to come back home. I wish I was one of those women that can pretend and get things together before confronting the cheater, but I can't. He came back later that night, around 23:30, and I just gave him the iPad with the conversation opened and saw his face completely go pale. I asked for an explanation. When? How? Why? And he didn't want to at first, but knew he had to. Apparently a few years back while I was traveling with some friends, girls trip, my fiancé and mom had dinner together. This isn't strange since he has been part of the family for so long. Sometimes mom and fiancé would eat together at our place even if I was busy with sports or out. I did the same with his parents. Somehow, unclear how since he couldn't explain it well, one thing led to another and they ended up sleeping together. They felt guilty but apparently not guilty enough. BC They slept together 2-3 more times, using the excuse of meeting up to discuss how to tell me. Apparently when my mom got pregnant they stopped sleeping together and decided to not tell me, since my fiancé loved me and couldn't lose me, and my mom didn't want to lose her daughter. So here we are now, with two of the most disgusting humans. I obviously broke the engagement, told my mom to never talk to me again and move in with a friend. I feel bad for my brother since I really love him, but I can't be around him now, I just can't. I feel like it would remind me of all those times we talked about having kids. I would be his baby mama, only baby mama. We talked about this future since we were 17 years old, so I want to puke every time I think how I was actually taking care of his child with someone else, while still having those dreams. I want to puke. Editor's note. Comments were mostly supportive, with a few telling their own stories of cutting parents off and a couple with tales of spouses sleeping with parents. How is this even a thing? People are crazy. Update 1, to the update. As I was afraid, I was indeed confronted near my office this week. I knew this was coming but thought maybe I had more time. My ex was the person to come find me. Yesterday, Wednesday, after finishing work and walking to where my car was parked, my ex was sort of lingering, waiting around. I thought about running. Not gonna lie, but I guess in the moment I felt strong enough to get over it, instead of having that hanging above my head waiting to be approached again. He asked if we could talk and I said yes, but I didn't feel like having that conversation over coffee like we were old friends. It felt ridiculous, so I told him to just talk right there. We were in the streets but somehow it wasn't crowded, but also not completely lonely. Felt right. He basically said sorry 100 times and that I deserved better. I agreed. He said he did love me and that he still does, but he would understand why I wouldn't want anything to do with him. He said that if I did in fact consider giving him a chance that he would go to therapy, alone or together or both, and that he would work hard to win my trust back. I told him it wasn't possible, there was too much damage. This sounds calm when I type it, but in the moment things came out more with louder tone and harsher words. Anyways, he did say that he is in the or will be, it was a bit of a blur, process of getting custody, partly, from my brother, and that he in fact does want to be a dad to him. He said he does not want to be together with my mom, that it was just a stupid mistake. Sure, BC 4-5 times is just a random thing. He couldn't explain why he did it in the first place. I think he doesn't even know himself. I asked if he cheated with someone else before. He said no, not sure if to believe it, but he sounded honest. I asked why he didn't come clean, and he said that after he did the deed he always felt panicked and it hit him that he could lose me and he just didn't want to. I told him it was meant to be found out, that what was his plan? To have my brother around and ignore their relationship forever? He said he didn't think far enough and that he was basically going with the idea one day at the time. I asked him if he felt that my mom seduced him. He said it was mutual, which made me want to puke again. I asked if he has had any contact with my mom since I found out. He said yes, but mostly about my brother, didn't elaborate more, and I didn't press for more info on that. He said he told his parents the day before, or the day before that, not sure, Tuesday, about everything. The parents were not happy, but they are glad to start building a relationship with my brother, their grandkid. Honestly, all of this felt like a punch in my stomach. I don't know why. The parents wanted to contact me, but he told them to wait till he approached me first, hence why he was here. I said if he started or thought about the custody before I found out, and he said no, but when I found out was like the push he needed. Great, seems I helped him get his shit together. And this past week he was arranging all of that mess, that's why he hasn't tried to see me before. He sounded and looked defeated, but the whole thing made me, besides sad, angry. I was mainly depressed before, but now I'm furious. I feel like he is still in an okay place and he isn't paying for his actions, beyond me leaving him. He will have my brother, his parents and others and move on with his life. While I lost everything. I hate him. We parted ways not on a happy note, and I told him to never get near me again. I was done. He asked me to see my brother still, that I was important to him, and tried to guilt trip me, and it worked, but I still think I can't. I don't know much about my mom and really hope she doesn't come find me anytime soon because I'm fuming right now and won't be able to handle it. I will be contacting my family and friends and finally doing the blasting today. I think it is about time, and after my talk with him I got the extra push I needed. Editor's note. Top comment suggested moving to Australia. Can't fault that line of thinking. Update 2. A lot has happened. I did the blasting, and this is how it went down. I first posted on my family's FB group we share. This is from my mom's family side. I used inspiration of what you all suggested in my last post and said something around the lines of, I want to communicate to you all that my wedding with X has been permanently cancelled, since I found out that my mom, name, and my ex, name, had in the last few years a sexual relationship which resulted in the birth of my little brother, name. I had no clue of any of this, and I found out about it last week. I won't have a relationship with, name, mom, and ex, name, for obvious reasons. I would appreciate your understanding, and I felt it was only fair to let you know of the situation, since I value transparency and honesty above all. I also included a screenshot of my mother's message, what I said to her once I found out, and a message she managed to write back before I blocked her. Didn't open the message till before the blasting. I didn't want to read her and be persuaded. It exploded. I had family reaching out via text and calling the whole day after the blasting. I would say most were very supportive, and I could tell they were just shocked. There were a few neutral and some suspicious that it wasn't the whole story and maybe I misunderstood. My grandparents were in the maybe you misunderstood category, which wasn't surprising since my mom is super close to my grandparents, and like I said before, my mom was always a good mom. So no red flags. I will be moving with a cousin that is more like a sister to me. I haven't reached out to her previously because I knew once she knew everyone would. That's why I went to my friend's place. My cousin is devastated on my behalf and offered to live with her and her 2 kids until I can get my feet on the ground. I accepted and will be moving next week. I'm a bit afraid this will give my mom an easier access to me, but I can't stay at my friend's place forever. I then proceeded quickly to post a similar message for my, we share most of our friends since high school and local university, friends on Instagram. I created a close friend story and tagged most of them too. This went sort of viral in our friend group. Actually, one of my friends sent me my Reddit post and asked if this was me. I confirmed. They were also shocked and speechless. They never thought my ex would even remotely do anything like this. They said he was crazy about you. Oh well, apparently he went overboard on the crazy part. The group of friends is divided ATM, some are completely on my side, and some are thinking it isn't the whole truth. I told everyone that reached out that if they don't believe me to ask their friend if he is asking for custody of my little brother. That kinda shut them up for now. My ex deleted his social media. Also, my ex's parents called me like I guessed they would. They were kind to me and were very sorry about everything. I got the feeling they are also overwhelmed and very disappointed. However, it was clear they will be supporting their son. They are very upset at my mother, and don't want anything to do with her, but not sure how that will work with my little brother and everything else. They tried to give me info about the custody and what is my ex up to now, but I shut that down quickly and told them I don't want any info, I want to move on. I also asked them to not reach out in the near future, that I needed distance, especially if they will be supporting my ex. He is living with his parents ATM. Also, my ex and my mother after the blast were going nuts trying to reach out to me. They tried calling my friend, who she blocked them, and reaching out from different numbers. I had to put my phone on silent and ignore everyone. However, my mother sent me a long text, from another number, and that was a weird text. She said that I was being cruel and that she didn't think she raised me that way. She said she thought we had a better relationship than me blasting out laundry like that without talking to her first. That I didn't have the whole picture. She did mention something that confused me. She said in her long-ass text, that the reason she slept with my ex, is because he reminded him of my dad. That it was grief. That she didn't mean to use him to heal her pain, but she wasn't strong enough. I don't even know what that means. Like, did she think that my ex looks physically like my dad? Or personality? Or what? I have seen photos of my dad, and well, yeah, my ex isn't super different but also not super alike. I mean, they share brown dirty blonde hair, blue eyes, white skin. But that's not so uncommon. I don't see what else. I don't know. That threw me for a loop and honestly makes me want to confront my mom just to know what the hell. From all the things she could say, I was not expecting that. I'm holding on better, I don't cry every hour or want to murder them. But I'm still sad and upset, and it just feels like it isn't my life. That it is a big joke or a bad dream and I will wake up to my normal life. I also need to really start planning my future and start applying for jobs in other cities, or maybe check the possibilities abroad more seriously. I might ask for 2-3 days off work to really get my thoughts together and do some research. I'm terrified tbh. I feel frozen, but I know I need to start moving. Editor's note, this one has some funny comments. Commenter 1, that mom is hilarious. I thought I raised you better. I never in a million years thought you'd fuck my boyfriend, but here we are. Commenter 2, My petty ass would be sending her that commenter 3, right? The irony of her blaming you for airing laundry when she did that. Commenter 4. The laundry wouldn't be dirty if you hadn't fucked my boyfriend on it. Am I the A for renting my house to a friend with poor financial habits? Now, she's offering to buy the house for a ridiculously low price, even just $1. Some backstory. I, 31, grew up pretty poor. I don't remember it well, but at one point my parents and I were only able to afford to eat beans and rice. My parents have since been able to pull out of poverty, and while they aren't rich, they are comfortable, and I have used a lot of what I experienced as a kid as motivation to be super careful with my money. I got a job in high school, worked odd jobs on the side, saved up every penny, rode my bike everywhere instead of driving and paying for gas, and by the time I moved out of my parents' place I had a little over $17K in my savings. I don't have that much tucked away anymore, but I have investments and emergency funds and take my family's finances incredibly seriously, as I never want my children to experience what I did as a kid. Mine and my husband's financial choices afforded us the opportunity to purchase a home in the beginning of 2015, which we bought 50/50 with his mother. He paid his half up front. I made a large down payment and his mother covered the rest with an escrow agreement that I would pay off what she had purchased. I have since completely paid my half and the house is fully owned by myself and my husband. It's a 4-bedroom, 1 and a 1/2 bath, 2-story home with a finished basement, attached 2-car garage, on a double lot. We got the house for an absolute steal at only $118K, for sale by owners. Since purchasing we have installed a fence, updated the oven, washer and dryer, water heater, furnace, and paid for materials to have all the interior rooms repainted. The only updates it needs are purely cosmetic, as the exterior paint is an ugly brown-pink color, which we have started repainting and need to finish. The hardwood floors have some distortion due to it being a 100+ YR old house and us having dogs when we lived there. And the bathroom could use an update, but structurally speaking doesn't need one. Needless to say, on a scale of 1-5, with 1 being tear down the house and start over, and 5 being it's ready to put on the market to sell for $300K today, the house is sitting at a 3.5 on a 4. Backstory complete, let's get into what has become my biggest headache for the past 4 years. I have a friend, let's call her Carly, 27, who had incredibly similar experiences to me growing up, but struggles with finances and has never seemed to get the hang of keeping any sort of savings over $50 at a time. I'm not sure if it's a lack of self-control, or that she's simply too focused in the moment when she gets paid and doesn't think to look in the long term, but she consistently makes her lack of funds everyone else's problem. I don't blame her for having issues with money, as learning to create a budget isn't exactly taught in school, and it took me years to learn to find a healthy balance, and the freedom of being able to buy whatever you want with no restrictions is super tempting, but at some point you have to learn to take responsibility. During the course of our friendship, I have helped her build countless budgets based on my own. I made roughly the same amount of money as her, but each time they failed for whatever reason. We tried different ways to try to trick her brain into realizing that money sitting in her account wasn't to be touched, as everything needed to be used for bills, etc., and each time she would wind up still using every penny. It finally came to the point where I refused to help her with her budget anymore, because she never listens to my advice, and when I pointed out the easiest and fastest method to get her spending under control was to get a payee, she said she didn't need to be treated like a child who receives an allowance. Fair enough. I washed my hands of that topic. Carly moved out of her mom's house a little over 6 years ago and into a mutual friend's place. Let's call her Tia, 27. As far as I have been told by Tia, Carly paid little to nothing in rent, even though they both worked at the same company and made close to the same salary. Carly's living space was an absolute disaster. She moved into the basement and it was lucky if there was even a walkway to get to the washer and dryer. She constantly asked me to come over to help her clean and organize her space, and because I'm a people pleaser I would always agree. Each time we would make significant progress, but then by the next weekend when I would come over to help again, it was as if a tornado had gone through her space in the course of the week. I have no idea how she was able to fit so much stuff into that tiny space. She would never clean up on her own or make any sort of effort to put anything away and would always wait for me to come over. And if anyone were to come down to watch us, it was always me cleaning or organizing while she sat back and dictated where everything went. Getting her to donate or throw anything away was like pulling teeth, as somehow even the smallest scrap of paper had some sort of sentimental value. After a little over a year of them living together, Tia couldn't handle it anymore and asked Carly to find some other living situation. She wasn't going to throw her onto the street, but she literally couldn't live with Carly any longer. There are a lot of other things that built up that caused this, but I won't go into that here. It just so happened that my husband and I had purchased a second home around this same time. What we had owed on the first was paid off, My husband had come into an inheritance, and we were able to look for our forever home that better fit our wants and needs. The best part for us is that the new house was literally a 5-minute drive from the old house. We had yet to decide whether we wanted to sell or rent our first house when Carly approached us with the offer of renting it from us. She and 2 other friends were looking to move in together, and with the house being as big as it was, there was plenty of space for all of them to have their own room and privacy. Since we hadn't yet decided if we wanted to sell, and there were 3 renters already lined up, we decided to use it as a means of passive income to invest in our future, and then down the road we would revisit whether or not we wanted to sell it or keep it as a rental. The red flag that I didn't initially pick up on was that Carly was already referring to the house as her house, to her 2 potential roommates even before moving in or signing a lease, so by the time it came to them all moving in, Carly had driven the other 2 girls to back out. The way I had written the original lease agreement was that the rent was flexible depending on how many tenants there were. So for the 3 of them they would have only been paying $750 total per month, and if only one person was renting it would be $400 per month. In this area you can expect to rent a bedroom for $400, so this was a crazy good deal as we really didn't need the money and it was mainly to pay for insurance, power, heat and property taxes. In the 4 years that Carly has lived in that house, rent has gone up 4 times. Once to $500 a month because the power bill went up and we needed to adjust for that, the second time to $550 a month due to the same reason, the third time to $750 after she got a new job, and last year in October. More on that later. Also in the 4 years she has lived here, 2 separate opportunities for roommates have backed out. Each time because she was setting the rules and referring to the property as her house, despite having zero claim to it and the fact that each person would have their own lease agreement. When she first moved in she was working a minimum wage paying job and she was my friend, hence the low monthly rent. But a year and a half ago got a new job at a local university, 30-minute drive away, that pays very well and has great benefits, but somehow she manages to blow through her entire paycheck on I don't even know what. Also during the course of these past 4 years she wound up owing me $750 in back rent as she repeatedly was unable to pay me the full monthly amount due to repeated miscalculations in her budget and overspending on garbage, which she then stuffed into mine and my husband's property. My husband and I realized after a couple years of being landlords that we aren't cut out for it. We have too much on our own plates and had no time for upkeep, and Carly wasn't holding up her end of the rental agreement that she had signed. We talked about it and settled on the decision to sell, but we of course didn't want to throw Carly onto the street and informed her of our plan. She proposed to buy it from us and started going through the route of getting a loan. During this process she realized that the house wasn't what she wanted. She wanted land and the house itself was far too big for her. She told us that, and we understood. And I even helped drive her to meet with realtors so she could check out other options to buy houses elsewhere. But each one fell through as she discovered that she wasn't going to get a new homeowner's discount or bargain with any loans that she looked at, and all of the loans required at minimum of a 10% down payment, which she of course didn't have. This is where the entitlement starts. Carly wasn't going to be able to buy a home, at least not the home she wanted, and settled on buy our house. We had briefly talked at the very beginning of her tenancy that we may consider a rent-to-own situation, but no agreement had been made. No sale price had been decided, no appraisals or property inspections completed, nothing had been signed. It was simply a comment that we had made in passing and then chatted about later, again in passing. She took it as gospel truth and said that if she bought the house that she expected the 2.5 years of rent she had paid us to be computed off the total sale of the house. I reminded her that we never signed anything about a rent-to-own and informed her that wasn't how this was going to work. Her next tactic was to try to suggest that we quit claim deed the property to her, again without her paying us anything additional to the 2.5 years worth of rent she had already paid us. How this works is that whoever owns the property grants the title deed to whoever they're giving it to, and it's generally a lot faster and cheaper than going through the process of buying a house, but there is still generally something paid for the property when the title is transferred. At this point she'd only paid about $10K in rent, more than half of which went to paying for utilities that we covered instead of having her pay them and property taxes, and she was making it sound as if she wasn't going to give us anything beyond that. I again told her that this would not be a viable option. The house was in great condition, and even with the exterior paint and repairs to the floors and bathroom was worth at least what we had paid for it. $118K. She tried to spin it that she was doing us a favor by taking it off our hands, as I had expressed to her that we were tired of being landlords and it was more effort than we had time for. Her last attempt at buying the house on her own was to offer me $1. That's right, a single dollar. I will admit, I don't know if this was a failed joke attempt on her part, but it certainly fell flat and I was so mad I was shaking, though I laughed it off. Side note, during the time she has lived in the house, My husband and I have some stuff stored in the garage, as Carly parked on the street due to convenience, and she suggested on multiple occasions that she start charging us rent for storing things in our own house when none of it was in her way whatsoever, and we had already made it clear that if she purchased the house that we would remove all of our property. At the end of 2022, Carly started dating Reggie, 28M. They were long distance and would take turns visiting each other, and Carly made the comment to Reggie that we were looking to sell the house, and we threw out a couple numbers, the very lowest being $100K, but said that we of course would have to have an appraisal and look at market value, etc. He offered to buy it from us and said that he would start the process in March-April of 2023. I was relieved, my husband was relieved, Carly was relieved, everything was looking great. Some information about Reggie at the time. He is a retired Marine. He gets a monthly check from the government for close to $2,000 on top of his well-paying job. I'm guessing based on what Carly told me, but at the time he made his offer he was probably making between $4,500 $5,000 a month. When March-April came around, Carly and Reggie informed us that he would not be able to afford paying both his rent where he lived and a monthly mortgage payment and wouldn't be able to start the purchase process then, but would start the purchase process in October instead when he planned to move in with Carly. Before Reggie moved in, an ex-friend offered to rent a room in the house from Carly and pay her despite subletting being clearly stated in the lease agreement as prohibited. Carly so generously offered to pay us some of the amount that she was paid. The agreement fell through and the friend did not stay in the room. I'm not exactly sure why he chose to do things the way he did, but Reggie didn't start the purchase process at all until after he had moved and quit his job, meaning the only source of income he had to show to a mortgage company was the monthly stipend from the government, which even with a veteran's loan doesn't work as proof of income. When he moved in, rent increased to $1,000 a month, which is still under value for the size of the home, and a brand new rental agreement was written and signed stating that if they had not started the buying process to purchase the house from us by mid-April of 2024 that we would not be renewing the lease, nor would we work with them on month-to-month rental options, as myself and my husband are completely and totally over this mess. We also stated in the rental agreement that we were not going to list the house for sale as a sign of good faith to allow Reggie and Carly first choice on the house to buy it. Here's a rapid-fire list of things that have happened since October. Reggie paid the $750 that Carly owed to me in back rent. Carly and Reggie informed us at some point either late November or early December that they would not be buying the house as the repairs required amounted to more than $50K. I don't know where they got this number, as I have budgeted on multiple occasions to redo the flooring and it would be less than $15K to redo the entire house, nor would repainting cost more than a few thousand, or the bathroom remodel, as they intended to do the work themselves. We repaired the major damage in the bathroom recently for less than $500. They could not acquire rental housing due to having 3 cats and will indeed be staying in the house. We informed them we are not renewing the lease and reiterated our reasoning. I made the mistake of telling Carly what we owed on our mortgage and they turned around and offered us $50K to buy the house from us, less than 1/3 the market value of the house if we sold it as is. We politely declined and then promptly went home and screamed into pillows. They have repeatedly told Tia that they are desperate for money to the point of debating setting up a GoFundMe, all the while Carly has gotten 2 brand new tattoos in the past year and has an international trip she has paid for in full that she is going on at the end of March, and Reggie has still not acquired even a part-time job. We emergency installed a water heater that Reggie paid for that I will have fully paid back by the end of March. Carly quit her job and now the only income they will have after the end of this week is Reggie's military stipend. Carly nonchalantly stated that we would have to renegotiate rent for this month and next month. There will be no negotiations. She made a bad decision and will have to live with the consequences of her actions. The most recent thing she did was text me 2 days ago asking if she could pay me in food for this month's rent. Knowing her, the amount she will pay will amount to only a couple meals and maybe $75 in groceries instead of the roughly $500 that they will owe. I owe Reggie roughly $500 left to pay off the last bit of the water heater. I jokingly answered that the electricity and insurance companies don't accept food as payment, so neither can I. She then offered to pay me what it would cost to pay these expenses and then the rest she would pay in food. I have not responded. It's been a day and a half. They will pay me in cash and nothing else. I'm done. No discussion. My warning to all of you, don't mix business and friends without getting to know said friends very well first. If I had known what I would be walking into, I never would have allowed her to move it. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Why are you allowing her to dictate anything? Evict her. OP. I'd love to, but where we live requires 60 days notice and that gives them an in to stay past their lease. They conveniently dropped the news on me that she quit her job when it was too late for me to give the required time for written eviction notice. Comment 2. Have you been inside the house since these two freeloaders moved in? I am thinking that they may have destroyed some parts of the house, which is why they came up with the $50K in repairs. Let them know that either they get all their crap out or you will just put it out for the trash. If it is worth anything, you could sell it for some of the money that they owe you, but I would bet most of the stuff is just crap. If they don't move out when you say the contract is over, it is 100% time to evict them. But if that happens, check with a lawyer, and see if you can cut off all utilities, water, electricity, gas and any other utility. You want them out before they destroy the inside of the house. If they do, make sure to take pictures and put them on social media and let every one of your friends know exactly what she did. Make sure that no other friend is dumb enough to let them move in with them. OP, luckily I have been inside the house. I was there on Sunday, and was able to do a quick walkthrough and everything seems to be okay right now. But I'll keep that in mind for when we deliver the eviction letter update 1. I should clarify. The reason we let Carly move in the first place is because she made it sound like she literally had nowhere to go. She'd spun a tale that her home life with her mom was not safe. Untrue. She made it sound like Tia was literally kicking her out that day. Also untrue, and she panickedly hounded me relentlessly in person and over the phone until my husband and I made a super quick decision to let her rent from us. I've learned this is a method of manipulation. I've reached out to an attorney. We talked about everything that's happened. They read through the lease and gave us a few options. We wait until May 1st when Carly and Reggie are supposed to be out of the house. If they're not out, delivery intent to sell notice. That gives them 90 days to vacate the property after the lease is up. Not ideal. We deliver the intent to sell now. That means they have until mid-June to GTFO. Still not ideal, but better. If they're still in the house past the 90 days, we file an unlawful detainer and the cops forcibly kick them out. We can't evict because we don't have the grounds. Even with all of this, the courts just about everywhere are against landlords and in favor of tenants. The minute their rent is late, we then have grounds for eviction. That gives them 14 days to pay or GTFO. But if they pay, the eviction process ends. So still not ideal. They can't get squatters' rights because they haven't been here long enough. I'm going to be telling her mother everything she's done, because I'm pretty sure she has no idea. I'm also telling all our mutual friends. I've done a lot of self-reflection lately before writing this post and came to several conclusions. I know she's not my friend. I had a false idea that I was helping someone that I saw as a friend and in the end I enabled her shitty behavior. I'm aware I'm a doormat. I know I don't know how to set boundaries. I spent a lot of time on the phone and in professional offices over the last few days. I'm on a waiting list to see a therapist and learn to set boundaries, because I don't ever want to teach my kids my bad behaviors and habits that got me into this mess. And for all of you who mentioned that it is a miracle my husband is still with me, he was with me along the whole process. I never did anything without his consent, since we own the house 50/50ths. I'm taking most of the blame because Carly was my friend. I apologized to him and we had a deep conversation about working on communication. He apologized for not seeing that my friend wasn't who she claimed to be and didn't warn me I was being manipulated. Update 2. This is hopefully the last update. Sorry it took so long to get back on here. They're out and have been since April 1st. And no, it wasn't a joke despite the date. Life's been insane and I've been so overwhelmed with this whole situation that it's been hard to get back on here and face it all again. They left the house a mess, but that's not surprising. They claimed they didn't have the time or money to finish even though there was a whole month left on their lease. Honestly, I'm happy that they're out, though I am pissed about the mess. I'd rather clean up a bit instead of fighting them in court to kick them out. I told her mom and showed her everything, and her mom was angry as well and told her off a couple times for 1, leaving the house in the state they did and 2, treating me, and others, the way she has. I've also started therapy and am working on setting boundaries and getting over my people-pleasing. The last I spoke to Carly was yesterday because I learned from a friend that she joked about leaving the house a mess on purpose because she was mad at me. I confronted her and asked why, even if it was a joke, because even jokes have some basis in truth. She said that it was because emotions were running high and she was stressed at the end when they were getting ready to leave, that she was frustrated with how little I did with the house while she was there, despite me repairing everything that needed it ASAP, and she was mad my husband and I stored some of our things in the garage. I explained that 1, it's our house, we can do that. 2, there was plenty of space in the garage for her things as well, and 3, none of her vehicles would have fit in the garage anyway as they were all too long and none of them ran, so she couldn't have even gotten them into the garage. Carly also had to junk out 2 of the vehicles she left behind, even though she'd explained she had someone who could keep them on their property so she could work on them. I don't understand any of her logic. I'm done trying to figure it out. Last thing she said to me was that she was sorry, though I don't believe she genuinely is and is just saying it to make herself feel better. Thanks to everyone that's read and commented and given advice. It's been greatly appreciated. Sorry if it's a bit anticlimactic of an ending, but I'm relieved that it's done. Some good news is that we're working with a buyer now and are making steps towards selling for what the place is actually worth. My ex-girlfriend claims my current girlfriend manipulated her into ending our 4-year relationship. Am I the asshole? I, 28 years old, am really confused about the events of the last month. My ex-girlfriend Julie, 29 years old, thinks that my current girlfriend Mindy, 28 years old, is manipulative and sabotaged our 4-year relationship. I was in a loving relationship with Julie for the last 4 years. We met through some mutual friends. Julie and I were very compatible in terms of our love for outdoor activities and running. We have very similar lifestyles and supported each other well for the last 4 years. We have also been living together for the last 3 years. We even discussed getting married during the summer. Everything was great and I was planning to propose to her over the holidays. However, I started to see changes in behavior in Julie around September. She was acting distant and looked stressed. It was quite noticeable and I was worried. I trust her with all my heart and I could not imagine she would be cheating on me. However, she did spend more time by herself. Around the same time, Julie's friend Mindy messaged me privately and asked me if I could meet her secretly, as she wanted to tell me something about Julie. Mindy and Julie work together and I've known Mindy ever since I started dating Julie. I was surprised, but to be honest, I assumed the worst. I met her at a cafe after work. She asked me if things were going on between Julie and me. She told me that Julie told her that she was planning to leave me soon. This was a total shock to me. I asked her if there was anyone else that Julie was interested in and she told me no. Julie confided in her that she was not sure about marrying me. She told me she just had to tell me this as she did not want me to be blindsided. I was devastated. I started putting more effort into making our relationship more exciting and planning more dates, etc. Mindy was also helping me through this time, and telling me more about what Julie told her. Eventually, before Thanksgiving, Julie told me that she loved me, but she wanted to take a break for a month to live alone. She said that she just wanted to live alone for a month to make sure she wanted to marry me. I was completely heartbroken. I asked her if she wanted to pursue someone else. She told me that was not the case, and I better not do anything stupid either. She loves me with all her heart, but she just wants to stay away from me to make sure that she is marrying me for love, and not because she is used to being with me. I did not understand that at all. I told her that if she is not sure after 4 years, if she wants to marry me, then maybe we should just break up. We had a big fight and broke up after a few days. As our lease was ending, we decided to part ways in December. She got a new apartment and I kept our old apartment and just took her name off the lease. After the breakup, I was feeling very lonely, as I was not used to being in the apartment alone. I didn't want to keep on being sad and hence invited a bunch of friends for a New Year's party. I also invited Mindy. We had a good time, and my friends were doing their best to cheer me up. Mindy also mingled with my friends and it was good. Mindy decided to stay back to help me clean up and we hooked up that night. I felt guilty, but Mindy did cheer me up. Since then, we have hung out almost daily at my place. I am still sad about Julie, but I won't lie that being with Mindy does make me feel happy. She is sweet and caring. Last Sunday, we woke up and someone was banging on the door. I went to open it and it was Julie. She looked furious and started yelling at me. She kept on accusing me of cheating on her. I told her I most certainly did not cheat on her, and she was the one who broke up with me. Mindy was also at my apartment. Julie was just angry at both of us. She started calling Mindy a manipulative bitch and told me that Mindy was the one who suggested to her that she should take some time away from me to understand her true feelings. I calmed her down and asked her to explain herself. She told me that ever since our marriage talk, she told Mindy about it and Mindy kept on asking Julie if she was sure about marrying me. Mindy suggested she take some time to herself to understand her true feelings and that I will understand and give her space. When I said no, Mindy convinced her that I was so controlling that I could not even give her 1 month to herself and convinced her to break up with me. Mindy told me that she did not say any such things, and these were all Julie's ideas and she was just there during these conversations. She did tell Julie that she told me about some of the things so that I get a chance to make things right with her over the last few months. That made Julie more angry and she started accusing me of emotionally cheating on her. Julie told me that the last few weeks have made her realize that we were meant to be together, but she now cannot believe I could move on from a 4-year relationship in a week. On one hand, I want to believe Julie, but she broke up with me for no fault of my own. Mindy was there for me when I was down, but now I also doubt her. She suddenly started talking to me out of the blue as we were never really close before, and immediately became my support after the breakup, although Julie was her close friend. Am I the to emotionally cheat on Julie? Should I have told her about Mindy's texts? Should I have not moved on from her so quickly, even though Julie broke up with me? I was just hurting and Mindy was right there to support me. I need advice from someone with a clear mind on what the fuck is going on. Relevant comments. Comment 1. Sounds like you and Julie need to talk privately and discuss what Mindy said to each of you. As others said, this sounds all too convenient. Mindy was in both of your ears telling you both what she wanted you to hear to orchestrate this whole thing. Please reach out to Julie and ask her to talk to you alone. Even if you both don't get back together, I'm sure you care for each other deeply and she would want you to be with someone who cares about you and won't manipulate you, and her. Her manipulation of you is more direct, but Julie is the victim as well. OP, you are right. If Julie is right, I just threw a 4-year relationship under the bus in 2 weeks. Comment 2. So what's your reason for sleeping with your ex's good friend weeks after the breakup? It's understandable you wanted to move on, but why her? OP, I was not planning on it. But she just stayed back after the party and things happened. Did I feel guilty after that? Yes. I felt discarded and unwanted after a 4-year relationship and was not thinking straight. Update 1, I, 28, posted last week regarding my girlfriend Julie, 29, accusing her friend and co-worker Mindy, 28, of sabotaging our relationship. Julie broke up with me in December after a 4-year relationship and Mindy reached out to me when I was feeling down. However, when Julie realized Mindy was talking to me, she confronted both of us last Sunday morning and told me that Mindy manipulated her to break up with me. The worst part was I was not thinking straight after the breakup and ended up hooking up with Mindy after a New Year's party. After the incident, I asked Mindy if I needed some time and did not meet her. Since then I made the following post on Reddit and had 3,000 people call me an idiot. I am sorry for the long post, but I wanted to say that we were not idiots to not see what happened. You guys read an abridged version of events in 5 minutes, while we lived it for the last 7 months. I messaged Julie every day since then, to try and talk to her. She did not reply to my messages. I was not sure if she blocked me. Mindy was constantly trying to message me, asking if we could meet and talk about it. On Wednesday, one day after posting, I decided to message Mindy. I told her to tell me everything she said to Julie truthfully. I told her I would go and see if I found out that she was lying. Mindy wanted to meet me in person or talk to me on the phone, but I wanted everything in writing. She messaged me that Julie always said good things about me for all these years. When Julie told her about us talking about getting married in 2024, she was happy for both of us. However, Julie started telling her that she had cold feet and was not sure if she wanted to marry me because of issues she observed about her parents' marriage. One day Julie told her she wanted to take a break from me. She was not sure about her true feelings for me. That was the time Mindy told me about Julie's behavior, as she felt bad for me, as we were already telling our families about the engagement plans. After our fight, she said that Julie was extremely upset and told Mindy that she would never marry me. She said that the only reason Julie came back was when she heard that I was moving on, as she is jealous of us. She also said that I was a good guy, and hopefully, I see that what we have is something special. I just said okay and told her I needed time. I kept on messaging Julie once a day to at least talk to her once. It was heartbreaking to think that she may have blocked me and may never talk to me again. On Friday afternoon, Julie finally replied. She said she wanted to meet me and told me she would come to our apartment on Saturday afternoon. I cleaned the place up and was just feeling deep guilt from inside before facing her. When she came in, she looked like a shell of herself and completely broken. I sat on our sofa, but she chose to sit away from me. We asked how we both were, but it was clear that none of us were doing well. I started apologizing, but she stopped me. She asked me to let her finish and not to interrupt her. She had brought her little notebook and had written down things she wanted to say to me. She told me that she truly loved me. But after we discussed getting married, she started feeling scared of the next big step. She thought those feelings were normal and would go away. So she decided to not discuss her concerns with me. It kept on eating her from inside, and she made a mistake to talk to Mindy about them. She said that she wanted to say everything to me now, so I don't get secondhand information about why she was distant and broke up with me. She said that her parents had a very rocky marriage, though they were together until her mom passed away in 2021 during the pandemic. Her parents argued constantly, and she always thought her mom did not love her dad. However, her mom was extremely dependent on him for everything, and her dad knew it and hence didn't treat her well. She never wanted to be like her mom after the marriage. However, as we lived together, she started seeing some of those issues in our relationship. For example, when we met, Julie had a lot of credit card debt and was bad at managing her money. I helped her with that. Even though we have separate finances, I ended up managing all her finances, investments, etc. At her request, to the point that she did not know or understand where her money exactly was. She also said that we always enjoy making nice meals for dinner every day. However, whenever I work late, she completely loses any motivation to cook and ends up eating cheese and crackers like a toddler for dinner. She also complained that in the last 4 years of our relationship, I have never said no to her for buying anything. She feels that I coddle her, and she just got comfortable with all the luxuries and things I can provide for her. She talked about this with Mindy, and while Mindy initially just listened to her, she told her around September that one of her cousins also had the same issue. She decided to stay away from her fiancé for a month, and within a week, she realized how much she missed him and never had doubts again. When Julie asked for a break, all she wanted to do was to live with her best friend for a few weeks, to see if she was just too codependent on me. She knew I was planning to propose during our Christmas trip to my parents' house, and when I told her that she could not take a break, she just freaked out and broke up with me, as she did not want to be engaged without knowing for sure that we won't end up like her parents. After this, she asked me when I started meeting Mindy, and how many times we met. I opened my chat messages with Mindy and handed her the phone. I told her I met Mindy only once in September, where she told me that Julie wanted to break up with me because she was not happy with our relationship. I already had noticed Julie's distant behavior, and when I asked her, the only answer I got was, "I am fine, we are fine." Due to my insecurities, I tried to hold on to Julie and started coddling her more, planning more expensive dates, and trying to spend more time at home. When Julie asked me for a break and to stay away from me for a few weeks, I thought that was the final step before the breakup and broke down and fought with her, which led to our breakup and her moving out. At this point, Julie's voice started cracking up. She asked me when Mindy contacted you after the breakup. I pointed her to the messages. Mindy initially just started sending me memes to cheer me up, and I just used to respond with thanks, or a thumbs up. However, the messages started getting more frequent, and she offered to talk to me in case I needed help. She asked me what I was doing for Christmas and New Year's, and when I told her I was inviting a few friends, she told me that she does not have any plans for New Year's, and I invited her. Julie stopped me there. She told me she did not need to hear the details after that. She told me that when she moved out of our house after our fight, she thought she was just not ready to get married to me. She stayed with her friend for 2 weeks and then got her new apartment in January. She told me that she was miserable and missed me badly. It became more acute when she moved into the apartment alone and could not stay there for even one night. Her best friend is currently staying with her in the new apartment. She realized she could not live without me within a week of living there. When she asked one of our mutual friends, on Saturday, about how I was doing, she told her about the party and told her Mindy was there. It did not make sense to her why Mindy would be at the party. She concluded that Mindy and I were having an affair during our relationship, and that was the reason Mindy must have tried to break us apart, by constantly telling her that she should not get married if she had doubts. When she saw Mindy in our apartment on Sunday, she completely broke down. However, when she learned that Mindy was also talking to me and telling me the opposite things, she realized how naive she was to throw everything away without properly talking to me first. As hurt as she is seeing me with Mindy, she also does not want to lose me. She kept on calling herself an idiot and apologizing for not telling her concerns to me sooner. I sat next to her and tried to hug her, but she moved away. She asked me if I was willing to still be together, and I told her I would give anything to get her back. She told me she was also willing to forget what happened, but she had a few conditions. Her first condition was that I cut contact with Mindy. I block her everywhere and never contact her again. If I see her standing in front of me, I act as if she is invisible. I was okay with that. Secondly, she has already signed up for individual therapy and is on the wait list. She wants us to do couples therapy so that we can talk about all the concerns we have and work through them. We also decided to hold off our engagement or marriage until we both can get into couples therapy. I was also okay with that too. Finally, she wanted me to forget the last month as a bad nightmare and never talk about it again. And if I ever make a "we were on a break" joke, she will punch me in the face. This was the first time we both smiled. I asked her what she was going to do about Mindy as they worked together. She said the biggest punishment for Mindy is to know that she did not succeed in breaking us up. She wants Mindy to see how happy she is with me. She wants Mindy to be there when she flaunts her engagement ring in the office and gets jealous when we get married. We hugged and I felt so relieved that I had a chance to make things right for her. I asked her to stay and she agreed. The rest of the evening was nice. We ordered DoorDash and watched reruns of Top Chef while cuddling on our couch. In the morning, we discussed moving back together. I want her to move back to our old apartment, but she wants a fresh start and asked me if I'm willing to move into her new apartment. Her new apartment is tiny compared to our current apartment and also not in the best neighborhood, but we will talk about it more and decide. I also will have to deal with the issue of having two 12-month leases, and how to get out of one of them. Currently, Julie went to her apartment after lunch to get some of her stuff for the week and I am writing this post. I am just so lucky that I did not lose Julie despite my terrible actions during the last month. I just hope that I will be able to work things out and get married soon, and this whole incident is a small bump in our perfect relationship. I also don't know how to address the issue where she feels coddled by my behavior and feels like I'm making her codependent on me. It's just my personality and I need to work on that during couples therapy. However, any tips from you guys are welcome on how to make her feel less codependent. P.S. Thanks to everyone who checked on my health during the last few days via direct messages, and sent me numbers for helplines. Don't worry, I am a marathon runner, and don't give up that easily. Relevant comments. Comment 1. So what happened to Mindy? OP, no idea. As far as I'm concerned, she does not exist. Comment 2. So it was Mindy who suggested to Julie to take the break? OP, yes. Mindy told Julie that she should take a break, and at the same time told me Julie wanted to break up with me because she was unhappy with me. I thought a break meant she wanted to move away and I would never see her again if I said yes. Comment 3. I don't know how you can make someone who can't even stay alone in their apartment less codependent. She needs her own therapist to make that happen, or she will again blame you for making her that way. OP, yes, she is looking for one right now. I have been in therapy and it takes time to find the right therapist that helps you. At least now we have discussed the issue, so it will be easier for us to see the signs and work on them together. New update. I wrote a few posts 6 months ago regarding breaking up with my then fiancée Julie because she asked me for a break and then hooking up with her friend Mindy. It turned out that Mindy was the one who encouraged Julie to ask me for a break and also befriended me and told me about Julie's intentions in advance. They were the worst few weeks of my life, but Julie and I reconciled and got back together. A lot of you have been asking me for an update, and I feel this is a good time to give a final update. After the incident, Julie told me that she wants to get back together and forget about the whole thing, but I could see that she was still hurt by my behavior. I tried to not love bomb her and give her space as that was the reason why we broke up in the first place. Julie had a mental breakdown, and had a panic attack, during the week after she saw Mindy with me in our apartment. She got an online therapist who she still sees once a week. We also looked for couples counseling and were able to see one almost a month after the incident. We decided to put our plans for marriage on hold until then. I could feel that Julie was making a lot of effort to act normally, but something was not right. I was optimistic about us, but it was hard to see her suffer because of my actions. During our first couples counseling session, we both opened up about our relationship and talked about the incident. Julie apologized to me for not communicating what was in her mind and how bad she felt for putting me through all the drama. She told me that she did not know how to process her thoughts and did not want to unload all her negative feelings on me and panicked in the moment. I also apologized to her about everything, and at one point we were in competition on who gets to take a bigger blame for what happened. There were a lot of tears, and I found the experience very healing. The counselor told us that she could see how much we love each other and should take baby steps towards talking to each other about what is in our mind. She gave us some exercises to do after going home and discussing certain things. By the time we left her office, I was so sure that I wanted to spend my life with Julie. I told her that, and she also said that she cannot imagine a life without me. We decided to go ahead with our wedding plans. Mindy tried to contact me several times. She messaged me, but Julie blocked her on my phone and all socials. She also contacted Julie and sent some nasty messages to her. The worst was 15 days after the incident, when Mindy started posting pictures of me and her on Instagram every day. Some of those photos were intimate, non-nude, and it caused a lot of pain to Julie. Julie reported her to HR and got a transfer, and promotion, to a different department after a month. The last I heard from Mindy was when she sent me a long email on my work email, but I deleted it without reading. The photos Mindy posted did cause a lot of drama, and we had to explain to our parents and friends about what happened during that time. As you all may have guessed, I was unanimously nominated for the Idiot of the Year award, but I am sure my sister would give me a good run for it before the year ends. The whole issue lasted for a month, and then we never heard from Mindy again and just moved on with our lives. Julie has been talking to her therapist about her codependency issues and concerns. I think it's childhood trauma and the therapist feels that it might have amplified after her mother's sudden death. I have been trying to help Julie slowly take interest in our finances, recommend Ramit Sethi podcast. But she is allergic to money talks and always changes the subject. I was able to break the lease that Julie signed by paying some penalty, and we stayed in our old apartment. However, Julie wanted to move out of it as soon as possible because of the bad memories. We purchased a single-family home a few months ago in a nice suburb and moved there in May. I don't think that issue of codependency is resolved and probably may have increased after the incident, but I love her, will always be there for her when she needs me. On to the main update. Julie and I got married last Saturday in a nice intimate ceremony held at my father's country club. All our family and friends were present and I could not have asked for a better evening. I wish I could share photos of Julie in her wedding dress because she looked stunning. We plan to leave for our honeymoon next week and I could not have been happier about how things turned out. Hopefully, in 25 years, Julie and I would look back at this incident as a small blip in our perfect life. Relevant comments. Comment 1, looks like a happy update after all. Make sure to keep communicating about any issues either of you might have, and don't be afraid to go back to counseling if it's needed. OP, thanks. We did attend couples counseling for 2 more sessions and it was good to talk through our expectations about each other. I know not everyone needs it but would highly recommend it to any couple getting married. Comment 2, I'm sorry, how are you the idiot for her leaving you because her BFF got into her head? Also, how is your sister trying to take away your championship belt? OP, I feel like an idiot because I should have taken some time before moving on to the next girl willing to be with me. Julie and I were in a relationship for 4 years and I almost threw everything away in 15 days. I feel if you read the first post in isolation and the 3K plus comments, you would also see why I am an idiot here. My sister is a goofball. I am sure she will do something more stupid before the end of the year. There is no way in hell I will win that title when she is around. My husband is a doctor. Am I the asshole for wanting him to be by my side holding my hand during childbirth instead of delivering our baby? I originally posted this in Am I the Asshole? And it was removed. I can't see any of the comments now. I, 35, am 7 months pregnant. I am married to a family medicine doctor, 35, and we've been together for 10 years. This is a throwaway account on Reddit because my sister-in-law follows me on Reddit and reports everything to my husband. I'm reaching out to all of you to ask for advice on a fight my husband and I are having about our birth plan. My husband really wants to deliver the baby, which I can kind of understand. It's not uncommon for doctors to deliver their own child. There is still an obstetrician-gynecologist there, monitoring everything. And the doctor father steps in at the last minute as the mother is crowning to just catch the baby. My husband has, I guess, always dreamed of being the one to pull the baby out, while I pictured it very differently. I thought he would be up by my head, holding my hand and helping me through it. He says he will do that, but the easiest part is the very end where I won't need him anyway. He said if I really want someone there, his mom can step in. I've been on my own since I was a kid living in my car, so I don't have anyone I'd want in there with me except him. I don't really even want his mom in there. She's great, but he's my person. I know it would be cool for him to deliver our baby, but I really feel like I need him there. I personally didn't want our doctors to know he was a doctor because as soon as any of my doctors, or even our veterinarian, finds out he's a doctor, they talk exclusively to him. I don't even want him to go to the prenatal appointments anymore because no one talks to me. They all talk to him, and I can't ask my questions to anyone but my husband at home. But he's already told everyone he'll be delivering his first baby. I guess I don't want this because I wanted him to be there as a husband and a father and not a doctor. I see him as a doctor 95% of the time, and I wanted to experience this with my husband and not my husband the doctor. I wanted him to be there for me as this is my first birth and I'm terrified. He just keeps telling me I'll be fine. He pulled in friends and family who also don't understand my point of view. They said this is his first child too and to just let him have this since I had the honor of being pregnant. I just really wanted him to hold my hand all the way through it and be able to share this experience as parents and people instead of a medical professional. I was hoping we could see the baby at the same time and just be equals in this. Am I being selfish for wanting this to be my way? Relevant comments, from all subreddits. Commenter. He pulled in friends family who also don't understand my POV. They said this is his first child too and to just let him have this since I had the honor of being pregnant. Who are these people? And why does everyone defer to your husband this way? Your request is totally reasonable and your husband's lack of understanding is pretty glaring. NTAOP, his mom, sisters, and our really close friends that I guess are technically more his friends than mine. I haven't brought it up to my friends because I'm just not comfortable having our friends weigh into our relationship the way he is. I think his mom just likes his plan because it pulls her into the room, which I attempted to veto early on. I do love her so much, but I wanted this to be our experience. Commenter, downvoted, NTA. But you both have visions of how your baby will be born, so you need to talk it out. Chances are the very last part of the birth you are not going to be holding hands. He is going to be with you in the delivery room either way, but this is something the two of you need to resolve. It's not enough to say, I want. Find a compromise. For example, if he holds your hand the entire time you're in labor and only steps in as doctor for a few minutes of actual birth, wouldn't you both have a win? Focus on having a healthy baby and creating a happy family instead of on scenes you've created in your imagination. And that applies to both of you. OP, I don't see that as a compromise. That's exactly what he wants to have happen. But the entire birthing process is incredibly emotional and exhausting. I don't want him to step away for those moments because they are what I picture to be the most painful and exhausting. I want him with me until the baby is out and we can hold her. I don't want to be abandoned during my birth while he and the other doctors catch the baby and begin the baby's workup. He's going to deliver the baby and hold the baby all while I won't be able to see anything because my legs will be in the air. I'll miss my husband holding and seeing my baby for the first time, and I'll feel completely by myself and like I'm missing out on those crucial first moments. Maybe you're not a woman. But nothing sounds worse to me than having my legs in the stirrups, immediately post-birth with a sheet draped over my legs where I can't see my husband or baby meeting for the first time. Commenter, deleted, downvoted. I think you're overestimating what your attention span will be like in those moments. My mom let my dad catch both of their babies, and she told me that when she was doing those final pushes, she didn't care where my dad was. All she wanted was to get the baby out. She also said it meant a lot to see the joy on my dad's face, and having him hand her the baby instead of some random doctor or nurse made the bonding process more special. I'm not telling you this to change your mind. I'm just giving you an idea of what that moment could be like. OP, I just don't see it playing out that way. If he is there to catch the baby, he's going to want to start doing some of the exams, and we're already having so much trouble getting the doctors to talk to me and keep me informed. It just feels like another link I'll lose to the situation to actually be kept up to date and prioritized in the moment. I know that sounds really silly, but I've been sitting in on my ultrasound appointments and prenatal appointments, and they are focused on the belly, but not on me. Pretty much everyone talks exclusively to my husband. It's been a huge challenge to feel like I'm a part of it and not just coincidentally caring for the baby. Commenter, tell him that you've had to do everything by yourself your whole life already. This is not one of the things you can do by yourself, and you want him there when it comes out. You just want support once from the start to finish. It's lonely always having to take yourself places, to teach yourself, entertain yourself, and so on. And it's exhausting. Especially growing up like that your whole childhood, knowing people can just up and leave. Maybe tell him you're feeling so effing lonely, that you just want him to be there. If he doesn't understand, you may as well do this by yourself again. Surely the nurse can tell him to stay with you, and now is not the right time, Mr. Doctor, sir. Oh, and it's out. Sorry, congratulations your parents. OP, I'm going through so many comments, but I stopped and read yours 50 times and it hit me really hard. This is it, this is why I feel the way I do. Thank you so much. Thank you. Update comment 1. Not sure the right way to update. Posting it here as well. Update. I am going to confront him tonight when he gets home. He's already going to be upset because we both have restrictions on how much time we spend on social media sites, and I have significantly surpassed that today and yesterday, which he'll know as soon as he reviews the router logs. I'm hopeful I can catch him before that makes him too upset. I did reach out to some of our mutual friends just to see what he has told them for why this is so important to him, only to learn he never discussed this with them. I think he made up what he has been saying. They were really shocked to learn we've been having this disagreement and were actually quite supportive of an expectant mother controlling her birth plan. I'm quite nervous about his reaction to this as well, and I'd like to get ahead of this. Wish me luck and cross your fingers for me. Update comment 2. I first want to say, thank you. Thank you every single one of you who took the time to reply, send messages, check up on me, send me messages, and share your stories. I've read so much more than I'll ever be able to respond to. Thank you. Those who took the time to share resources and volunteer your own time, you're angels in the flesh. Thank you. I'm so incredibly touched by this overwhelming outpour of love and support. Also, thank you to even the people who told me I was selfish or crazy or any other derogative you chose to use. I'm not sure what helped me more, the people posing such great questions about if I felt safe, comfortable, loved, or the people telling me I was the terrible person. Something about attempting to reread my story as an outsider and seeing the comments where Redditors told me I was in fact the problem broke something in me, and I finally saw through the haze. But hey, maybe try to be nicer to strangers on the internet and consider your words more carefully. We're all people trying to get through life. So many of you are kind, caring, and loving individuals. Thank you for caring about some random things on the internet. I don't even have words. I can't say a whole lot about these last few days. So much has happened that I will be processing for years to come. All I can say is I am safe and I am free. Read into that as you will. My next steps are leaving this chapter of my life behind. I'm moving out of this city and I'm going to try starting again somewhere new. Somewhere beautiful where every time I look outside, it's hard to believe it's real life. I've always felt drawn to the mountains with all of their beauty and might. I don't plan to ever log into this account, or even Reddit, ever again. I did the same thing at 16. And I'm hopeful these last few decades have set me up for more success than I had the first time chasing a new start. If you read my story, and you relate to it in any way, or you too feel smothered, voiceless, and alone every single day locked in the house with someone who is supposed to love you, I just want you to know what I now know. That isn't normal. That isn't what life is supposed to be. There are people you can rely on, and strangers can be your best friend. The cost may be steep, but the cost to stay is so much more. Farm this post for all of the comments and support available. I pass it on to you and beg you to use what resources you can find. The sheer volume of personal messages I received from people in the same boat, people sharing support, people checking in to make sure I was okay. There's such a community here, and they will help you before you even realize you need it. I'm not sure what's next, and that's terrifying but also refreshing. I haven't had that in so many years. Am I the asshole for deciding to divorce after discovering that my wife had a tattoo of another man's name while I was away? My wife of 4 years got a tattoo recently with her best friend who has a very aggressive type of bone cancer. She didn't discuss it with me at all. I just did it while I was on a training mission. Came home Monday morning to her with his name tatted on her neck with a Pokemon. I have not returned home since I saw it. I have been sleeping in the barracks. I am honestly thinking about just filing for divorce. Am I wrong? Edit. I have heard from a few of my neighbors that she basically moved him in for the 6 weeks I was away on a training mission. And left a few days before I returned. She is refusing to even discuss it. All she keeps saying is it has nothing to do with me and her. Update 1, she was served divorce papers yesterday at our previous home together. She thought it would be a good idea to involve both our families without giving them a reason or context. I filed for divorce after I got home from my last training mission. So as the parents called, I told them about the tattoo and her moving him in while I was gone. And let them deal with her. Relevant comments. OP added in the comments. Spoke with my CO about it. He said I should just let Jag handle the paperwork. And he will have me in a new duty station by Monday. He said a man can't live with that level of disrespect, and I agree with him. Comment 1, what did you say to her when you first saw it? And how did she react to you? OP, I asked her what she did. And she said I got a Pokemon tattoo and showed me. I saw his name on her neck, and I just went quiet and picked up my bags and walked back on base. Went and saw my CO and had a drink with him. Comment 2, if my partner puts any other name on his body than my kids, his family or me, it's a problem. They could have done a tattoo without a name and on a place that isn't so out of the open. The tattoo on itself isn't an issue, but the name and place is. OP, exactly. It hurts that she turned me down last year about getting matching tattoos to just get one with her Pokemon Go buddy. But it's not the tattoo that is the complete disrespect and disregard that it's a constant symbol of. Update 2, got all my ducks in a row, as they say. Sat down and spoke with my future ex-wife. She honestly expects me to just step aside and let her play house with her friend. Pause our marriage, wait till they are done, then continue our life together like nothing happened. I can't live with her plan, so I'm getting divorced. Wasted nearly 6 years on her already, not wasting any more of my life on her. Will be in my new duty station by the end of June. A fresh start, I hope, and put all this behind me. Relevant comments. How has his wife tried to reconcile? She has been endlessly trying to just communicate with me. After she failed to contact me personally, she went to our parents and siblings, and when that failed, she started contacting friends and people in my unit, spouses of people in my unit. She is absolutely relentless. And it's always the same bullshit about how this is just temporary because he is not long for this earth. And I would do the same thing for a terminally sick friend. What does her family say about everything? No, they are not at all pleased. At first, her parents came at me because all she told them was I left her out of the blue after returning from a training mission. I told the truth about how she got a neck tattoo with her friend's name and had him living in our house while I was on my training mission. Update 3. This morning, my commanding officer pulled me from a training flight to inform me of my wife's death and got me on a flight back to North Carolina. Should arrive at my parents' house in about 8 hours. A month ago, I filed for divorce and changed duty stations and cut her completely out of my life. I didn't want to hear how this thing with her friend James was temporary and how our marriage would go back to normal after he passed. I am not suicidal or anything like that, but I am profoundly saddened. I keep thinking how 6 months ago we were happy and in love. And now she took her own life when I just didn't accept what she was doing for a friend who was dying from cancer. I am riddled with self-doubt and blaming myself for her actions. Thinking about everything and our parents having been friends for decades, she is now dead in the water, another victim of her delusion. I know these were all her choices but still feel guilty for her death. I don't know if hell is real or not, but I hope James ends up there for what he has caused. Update 4. Had a meeting with the funeral home today. She already set most everything up and paid for it a little over a week ago. We are having a memorial service at my in-laws' house on Wednesday. Her ashes will need to be picked up in a few days. I have a grief counseling session on Friday morning. Relevant comments. Comment 1. I'm sorry for your loss. Did she ever admit to cheating? I might have missed it. OP. A week or so ago my mother called me and confirmed she was almost 3 months pregnant, so that confirmed she was sleeping with him when I was away for 6 weeks. Comment 2. Wait a sec. She was taking care of a friend with cancer and you lost your shit over it, causing a divorce, and that plunged her probably into a depression and she took her life. Sounds like you were the problem here, not so much her. OP. Not exactly. She hit the pause button on our marriage so she could play house with him while I was on a training mission in California. Without informing me. Was pregnant with his child when I came back and wasn't going to tell me. If it wasn't for the stupid tattoo she got with his name, I might have fallen for it. And slept with her, and she would have had me raise his child as my own. Comment 3. Oh, what a jerk. I'm so sorry. Now I think your wife committed suicide to join him in the other life. Probably both went to hell for their selfishness. OP. I'm not sure if he has passed or not. Pretty much left and crawled under a rock for the last few weeks. Comment 4. I was wondering if James was still alive. Did you say how your wife? How do I ask without sounding rude? Killed herself. OP. Found out she wrote 10 letters to different people, including me. Then she emptied the medicine cabinet while her family was out. They came home, and she was in her bed and had passed away. Comment 5. What was the nature of her relationship with him? Was she giving him palliative care or having an affair with him? OP. He was still active as in up and around hell as of last week. He was still working at the card shop I was told. So we'll say an affair. My sister is severely autistic, requiring constant attention and unable to care for herself. I have been hating her for a long time. Am I the asshole? The title makes me sound horrible, but hear me out. My sister is severely autistic. She requires attention almost 24/7 and cannot be left alone. She is nonverbal and cannot take care of herself at all. Despite the fact that she is only 12, she is extremely destructive and violent and destroys anything she gets her hands on. I hate her. That should be wrong to say, but it doesn't feel like it. I was only 6 years old when she was born, and since then I've never solely had my parents' attention. Even since I can remember, the world has revolved around her. I was moved out of my room into the basement at 7 because she needed to be in the room next to my parents. All of my toys as a child were destroyed by her and my parents simply ignored me when I complained. Even when I was 14 and she destroyed a Mac my school gave me, I was in the wrong. Along with this, I am expected to take care of her and drop everything I do for her. I can never make plans with a friend because my parents expect me to be there if they need me to take care of her. Even when I do somehow get time to myself, I'm required to leave if they need me. If I do not, then I am punished. The recent example of this is when I went to see the new Spider-Man movie, and was grounded because I turned my phone off in the theater. It seems as if I am nothing more than a slave to them and anything involving her simply overshadows me. This last week I was chosen to give a speech at a school event. I was so excited and my parents promised to be there, but they never showed and claimed it was because of my sister. Anytime anything like this happens for me, they are too busy with her. I've held this in for so long and it finally spilled out today. While talking about colleges with my father, he joked that I should get a degree that pays well so when they're gone I can take care of my sister. I don't know why, but this caused me to break down. I cried and screamed about how it was always about her. I'm nothing more than a caretaker to them, that they always make it about her and that I'm expected to be her slave for the rest of my life. I've locked myself in my room since then and my parents have not come to check on me. Am I an asshole here? Edit. Wow, thank you for all the support and love that you guys have given me. I never expected this post to reach the popularity it did. Thank you all. After thinking about it for these past few hours, you are right that I don't despise my sister. It's not her fault that she was born the way she is. My parents came to talk to me a while after my breakdown, but I was unable to bring myself to talk to them and only cried and asked them to leave. They have made arrangements with my grandfather for me to stay with him for the time being and am getting ready to go to his house. My parents want to talk to me, but we have decided it's best I leave for now to have some space and time to collect myself. We will be sitting down and talking later this week about this issue. Thank you all again for the love and support through this. I'll send an update your guys' way later this week if people are interested. Relevant comments. Comment 1 NTA. These are perfectly legitimate and understandable feelings. You have done nothing to sign up for taking care of another human being. It's not like she's your kid, and that was wrong of your dad to joke about, because it sounds like he probably is really thinking along those lines. Be honest with your parents about how you feel. Make clear that it's insane that you're expected to be a full-time babysitter, grounded for no phone in a theater. That's fucking bullshit. Comment 2, NTA. Kid, I hope you go to college far away from home. Later in life, make sure your parents understand that you won't be taking responsibility, so they better have care and funding in place. Comment 3, if you can, go to college far away. Time away and on your own to be just you will be good for you. Because I think your dad was only half joking, at some point you will want to have a conversation about how they need to plan for the care of your sister in the future. And make it clear that it is not you, especially if you feel the same way as you do now. I'm really sorry your parents didn't handle this better, and I hope that one day your anger moves away from your sister. Comment 4, this is a parent problem, not a sister problem. I am a parent of one autistic child and one neurotypical child, and I will tell you that we would never treat our NT child like his role is to take care of his sister. If she ruins his stuff, we replace it. We have also given him some separate space, with a lock, so that we can prevent her getting into his stuff. Now if he leaves it out, that's another story, but we try our best. Are there ways in which having a sister with a disability still might suck for him? Of course. We're a family, and what impacts one tends to impact us all. But we try to mitigate that, and at least sympathize when we can't. We also make sure that he benefits in whatever ways we can. Like the fact that he has never had to wait in a long line at an amusement park because of her skipping the line pass. It sounds like your parents haven't done any of this, and have in fact, made everything worse for you. That is not your sister's fault. She can't help who she is, and at only 12, she is still learning and growing, and you may still have a great relationship once you're both adults. Your parents, on the other hand, should have done better by you. The brunt of your anger belongs to them. Update. Well, since that day I made the post, I've been staying with my grandfather. The week's been honestly a huge change for me, for better and for worse, but I'll try to run it down. I started by telling my grandpa the story of why I broke down the way I did, and to be honest, he seemed horrified. No one in my family knew my parents were using me as essentially a free care service for my sister. My grandpa told me some things that I don't feel comfortable repeating here, but in essence my sister is supposed to be getting care from a professional and that my parents were ignoring that. Along with this, I was not supposed to be caring for her at all with her mental state, as apparently she is a danger to herself and others. With everything else I told him, along with stuff like the movie Indecent, he was really mad and told me to not contact my parents without him there. He pretty much told me that he would be meeting with my parents beforehand and that he was going to be there when I sat down with them. It didn't end here either. The rest of the week consisted of other family checking in on me and telling me things my parents hid from me. This included the fact that my parents have been taking money from the family to fund a caretaker that doesn't exist. Suffice to say, this week has been rough. But the upside is that even through all this, my extended family has been giving me more love than I've felt in a while. My grandfather spent this last week making up for the time I've lost, encouraging me to spend time with friends and do things I want to do. My aunts and uncles have also been helping me through the week. Well, Saturday night I sat down with my parents to talk. It went badly, to say the least. They came clean to me about everything. They told me things I will not repeat here. But they did not apologize. My parents still claim that I somehow owed my sister my time. My father even saying, "You were put here to be her caretaker." I won't lie and say I was composed. After everything I learned, I confronted them on the fact that my sister needed a caretaker. The money my dad was taking from his sister, and a few other things. They denied it or made excuses. And in the end, we ended off in a worse place than before. Today will be my last time talking to them for a while. After talking with my grandfather and uncle last night, I'm not going back. Later today I'm going there and picking up my stuff and moving in with my grandfather. When I graduate high school I'm planning on leaving the state to go to school. My aunt has told me that the money she was sending my dad will instead be coming to me from now on. My parents have called me twice since Saturday. Neither of them were to apologize and only ask when I was coming home. I won't be going back to them. Right now I still feel pretty uneasy about everything, but I feel like that will pass. The rest of my family is showing their support to me and honestly, it feels great. But in the end I lost my parents. Over all of this I've learned something that I wished I saw earlier. I don't hate my sister. In fact I love her with all my heart. I should never have projected my hate onto her. That was wrong, and someday I hope to make up for it. But for now I need to leave. So here's my update. Thanks again for the support my original post got. I really appreciate everyone who took the time to comment or show me support. Thank you. Edit. Thank you all so much. I wish I could respond to every single one of you, but my lunch only lasts so long. I'll update tonight how the move out went, but until then, thank you all. I want to say that your support has been amazing and your kindness means more to me than anyone could ever imagine. Late edit. Wow, I never imagined my story would reach the popularity it did. I know it's kinda cliche and I've said it 1,000 times, but thank you all. We just got back from moving my things out of my parents' house. Everything I wanted to take my grandpa and uncle helped move, and it's at my grandpa's house now. I have my birth certificate, social security card, and every other document and record I could think of. My parents were quiet the whole time I was there. Shortly after I arrived my dad left with my sister and my mom only hovered over us silently as I moved. It took a while, but as we left she broke down and told me she loved me and would miss me. I hugged her and said goodbye, and that was it. Even now I sit here and think if she really meant it. After this whole week of her not saying anything, she waited till the end. I hope she meant it. Right now though, I think I just need to look ahead. Maybe one day me and my parents can reconnect. I hope so. Thank you all for the advice and love. It's been amazing, and I'm glad that through this experience I at least got some positive out of this mess. Will I come back? I don't know. If something happens and you guys still want an update, I'll maybe come around again. But for now I'm going to move on. For all those out there who shared their stories with me, thank you, and I hope to see you on the other side. See you, Space Cowboy. Relevant comments. Comment 1, OP's grandfather is a saint. Comment 2, the sad thing is that he should have had to be as kind and good as he was. The parents were disgusting people who robbed someone of the necessary childhood experiences and felt no remorse for it. Comment 3. Yeah, I feel really bad for OP. It broke my heart when he talked about how all his toys got wrecked and no one cared. Another angle that I'm not seeing being discussed, OP's sister is being robbed too. If the parents were told she needs a caretaker, then she needs a caretaker. Maybe she would be able to make some improvements if she was working with a professional. I get that she's low functioning, but it's possible that she can sense the animosity OP was beginning to feel toward her, which is not his fault. Which could cause her to lash out more. IDK, I have a severely autistic cousin. He is verbal and doesn't need 24/7 supervision though, and he has a loving family who is always there for him. I wonder how lost he would be without that support system. OP's parents obviously don't care about their autistic daughter. If they did, they wouldn't push her off on a teenage brother who obviously isn't capable of handling that responsibility, or use her to scam their family. I just hope she will be okay. What are the parents going to do with her now that their free babysitter and money are gone? Are they going to pay for a professional caretaker themselves, or just neglect her? OP, if you see this, this is not a guilt trip, but someone in your family should keep tabs on what's going on with your sister. It sounds like she may be better off in an institution than with parents who obviously can't or aren't willing to give her the care she needs. Comment 4. I'm glad your other family is coming through for you, OP. I strongly suggest you still get a therapist to help you unpack the years of harm your parents did to you. Also, yay Grandpa, he sounds awesome. Good luck, OP. However, I would wait until you enter a college university to begin seeing a therapist. This way, 1. You will be guaranteed confidentiality as an 18-year-old, 2. You will likely be covered under a student plan that you pay for with tuition that will make therapy free, and 3. You'll have time to compose yourself when you're alone and really be able to sort out your feelings. Comment 5. I understand your predicament, for I also come from a similar situation. My older brother has autism spectrum disorder, and is on the low end of the scale. My parents, since I was about 7 years old, always stressed that I needed to take care of him and allow him to live with me once I was older despite the 4-year age difference, alongside his physically and sexually abusive tendencies towards me, and only me, out of our family of 5. Now, I am 20 years old. Since I was 18, my parents have expected me to pay for items he desires, read for him, clean for him, pretty much anything you could think of despite me being a college student with many chronic illnesses that was being abused by him since I was 11. Despite everything he has done, I do not hate him or his disability. Rather, I hate that my parents have enforced that his abusive behavior was not morally incorrect, thus insisting to him that I was wrong and hated him for his disability. No matter how much I expressed to him that his behavior was wrong and that I did not resent his disability, as I am severely disabled myself, he never listened or corrected his behavior until I began to distance myself from him at all available chances at 19 years old. He is my brother and he needs help, but I cannot be the one to give it to him because I deserve better than the life I was provided by our parents and him. I plan on moving out very soon. I hope things get better for you soon, and that you are able to reconcile with your sister as you desire without parental interference. Good luck, OP.